million, $70 million of that being deferred. Team president Chris Antonetti on watching Jose become a superstar.
We've had the privilege of watching him develop into a player that impacts the game in every facet, offensively, defensively, and on the bases. Beyond that, he's a passionate teammate, a relentless worker that has this unrelenting desire to win. And he sets the standard really for us, not only for our major league team, but the entirety of the organization.
Ramirez currently second in franchise history when it comes to home runs and runs batted in. The equipment trucks for the Guardians leaving Progress Field for Goodyear on Thursday. Meanwhile, with the World Baseball Classic this year, pitchers and catchers set to report on February 9th. Super Bowl 60 coming up next weekend. The New England Patriots had the first practice of the week on Thursday since winning the AFC title. Quarterback Drake May limited at practice, sore right shoulder. But head coach Mike Vrabel says he's not all that concerned. And remember, catch Super Bowl 60, Patriots and Seahawks a week from Sunday right here on 92.3 The Fan. Cavaliers back to work tonight. Going to start a 5-game road trip out in Phoenix, taking on the Suns. Cavs with a season-high 5-game winning streak. The Suns cut off a 114-96 win over Detroit last night. Phoenix has won 5 of 7. You can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. On the next Time for the Kid Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
The Afternoon Drive.
They didn't get anywhere close to the guy that they envisioned when they started this whole ordeal. I got more people suggesting Kevin Stefanski should still have a job than not have a job today. What are we doing? Todd Monken is your answer? That is not acceptable.
You wanted an offensive head coach?
That is the worst head coaching hire you could possibly have made out of the whole allotment of people that you brought in and interviewed and did everything else with. Do you think Todd Monken at 59 years old is all of a sudden going to be some sort of coaching whisperer and some sort of magic coach? No, I don't.
Didn't you want an offensive head coach?
Do I think Todd Monken's going to be here 3 years? I wanted a young offensive coach. I didn't want Todd Monken. Todd Monken last year with Lamar Jackson was 11th in scoring and 16th in points.
The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
But you had to be ready to replace him depending on the fallout. If I find out that the Browns were caught unaware that he was going to react the way he did, well, I felt down about this team before. That's as down as I'm going to feel about this team. Like, this might be where you need to pick me up off the floor. And it might be possible. And I think a lot of people are going, Ken, don't be surprised by it. If I find out that they weren't ready for a Jim Schwartz meltdown, I mean, I'm already not feeling good. I'm going to be sick. You had to be ready. Like, didn't a guy in Macedonia right now getting ready to go to work?
Everybody could see that
thought
coming.
that Jim Schwartz, how emotional his defense is, how emotional he seems to be, didn't they think that he was not going to be happy? So if a guy who's just a Browns fan saw it, wouldn't the Browns been able to see it? So they had to be prepared that he probably wasn't going to react the very best way.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Morning to you.
Hello.
You have something you need to get off your chest. You get it off your chest. Let's get going. This is exciting. I like where your head is, and I want you to explore it because you came in hot this morning when you walked in the door.
Well, I've never seen anything like the difference in perception right now that existed between one city's version of a football season and the rest of the league's version of a football season.
Yeah.
And we had kind of seen how things were playing out with Kevin Stefanski. He goes away. He immediately starts interviewing for other jobs, immediately gets a job in another place. And then what do the pundits say? Oh, I think he's got a shot to be really good there. And it's like, well, we just had him here.
He wasn't.
And he wasn't.
No.
Especially the last 2 years. He was up and down, but the last 2 years, down, 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 down. And we lived it. And we're in radio here, so I always try to remember maybe we're in a bit of a cocoon. Maybe we're in a bubble. But we try to be fair-minded. We liked Kevin. So we tried to be fair-minded about Kevin throughout the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
And then yesterday happened.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I think this was more telling than even the Kevin run. I know it's part and parcel of the Kevin run, but
Tell me, I love where you're going. I love this.
Did you see Did you see what happened with Bubba Ventrone?
Hell yeah, I did. Hell yes, I did.
So,
and I started cackling like I'm about to do now. But continue, please.
So a team that had just as big, if not bigger, special teams calamities this year. It was just on a bigger stage. The Rams. The Rams, they would be in the Super Bowl today if they had better special teams. I truly believe that. As highlighted by the muffed punt. Was it a kickoff or a punt?
Strong conversation.
It was a punt.
They had a big defensive stop and then muffed the punt inside the 15.
And that was it because they were down now a couple of possessions, and they were matching whatever was being done offensively.
It was a 4-point game, I believe. 3 or 4-point game, and then they gave up a touchdown.
So I think they win the game if that doesn't happen because I didn't think anybody was stopping Matt Stafford at that point. So either way, they decide, well, they're an accountability place, too. Did you see Denver Broncos got rid of their offensive coordinator after 14-3?
Yeah.
And the AFC Championship game, that's an accountability place, even though Sean Payton can't fire himself.
Yeah, but are you throwing Joe Lombardi? Not you. Is he throwing Joe Lombardi under the bus? Okay.
Probably.
Just making sure.
But that would never happen in Cleveland. We would never fire the offensive coordinator at 14-3.
Does he have to throw his offensive coordinator under the bus?
I didn't think so, but he did it. So,
do you believe anything about the retractable roof crap? What they were saying in their new stadium, the retractable roof, that would have been closed in that game.
Oh, would it have been? Okay.
Everybody has retractable roofs, and they just leave them closed.
I've never seen them open.
Because you can't predict the weather, and it's like, well, if you're going to have this brand new stadium with a big roof over it, it's like you're going to control the weather.
And it still takes 6 days to operate it.
Because like Jerry Jones, the whole thing is like, man, they barely ever open up the roof. I was like, yeah, I know my dad's a big Dolphins fan, and I watched the Thanksgiving Day game where Leon Lett tried to jump on the football after the Pete Stoyanovich attempted a field goal in the snow, and Jerry Jones remembers that because he's a crazy person, and there was no way he's ever going to allow something like that ever again. So after the month of September, you might have a chance. Other than that thing's closed. Go ahead.
Bubba Ventrone gets hired, who I wanted him fired, I think, after week 2. But there were 4 different Mondays where we came on afterwards and said, well, you got to fire him. Well, you got to fire him. Well, he's not going to fire him, but they got to fire him.
But I like the reasons, though. The reasons were not. See, I've always rolled my eye. I did this with Chris Tabor a lot, and I like Chris, let's be honest. But I did this a lot where guys would miss a field goal, by the way, I didn't call for Bubba. I know what I said when Andre Schmidt missed the field goal week 1, and I regret it. I regret being so upset. I will clarify that I didn't say he was a bad guy, and I didn't hate him. We had to move on. And I was wrong, and I'm glad I was. And I regret being so vociferous in that argument. But I didn't blame Bubba Ventrone. It's the other stuff. See, that's what's key to me. Blocked field goals, if it's blocked, if you're giving up punt return touchdowns, if you're giving up kick return touchdowns, if you're constantly giving up extra first downs. See, these are things, and that's what I love so much about the conversation. Because usually it's just, we lost, fire the coach. No. I have reasons why this isn't working. And then where I reached my boiling point with it, and I will always hold this against him. If I don't deny that the back end of the roster is bad, and that's what he had to work with. Text a reporter, load the lips of the media. I'm serious. Use the media. Let them say it. You don't say it.
He casually sat in a press conference and said it himself.
You are the coach. You don't say it. You can say, listen, we got to get, if you want to sit there and say that we got to get guys who got to get their heads out of their ass and all the other things, go right on ahead. You can't say these players are just bad. Because that's basically what happened. And when he said that, I go, that's not what a coach does. That's ridiculous.
A couple of days ago, Tom Pelissaro had tweeted, the Browns now have to replace all 3 coordinators. The Rams put in a request to interview Bubba Ventrone for their special teams coordinator job per sources. Ventrone, who is regarded as one of the NFL's best, is not expected to stay on Todd Monken's staff. And now we fast forward to Peter Schrager.
Yeah, who's his agent?
I'm not sure. Peter Schrager says Bubba Ventrone to the Rams would be a big score for L.A., one of the more respected special teams coaches in the league, has had head coaching interviews in previous years.
Who's his agent?
So that is what some of the journalists were saying, but don't take our word for it. Don't take the hack journalists' word for it. Sean McVay hired him. And what do we do with Sean McVay assistant coaches? We call them head coaches in a few years.
Yeah, he'll be a head coach.
We call them head coaches in a few years.
He's the next John Harbaugh.
Nate Scheelhaus almost got the Browns job based on 2 years in the NFL, and they happen to be 2 years with Sean McVay.
You're on the radio in Cleveland.
So I am asking you.
Yeah. Oh, you want to ask me? I was going to ask you.
I was going to ask you, are we in so much of a bubble doing the games in and out that it was so much easier for anybody outside of the city to say, the problem was the Browns, the problem was their roster. They had good coaches on that team. Jim Schwartz is a good coach. Bubba Ventrone is a good coach. And Kevin Stefanski is a darn good coach.
There's no doubt.
This is a Browns problem. It's a Jimmy Haslam problem. It's an Andrew Berry problem.
There is no doubt in my mind.
Because those guys are still here.
Yeah, I understand that. And by the way, I think that it could be all of them. It could be in everybody's problem. But let's go back to the Ventrone thing. One, I'm going to answer your question, then I want you to answer a question for me. Now, you wanted me to answer exactly how again, or what again? Say it again, put it as succinctly as possible so I'm on the record for everybody.
So the guy that we debated, at least 4 different Mondays, it might have been 5.
Okay.
And you might have a more accurate accounting
I
of that.
I know it was week 2. I know the Jets game for sure. The Jets game was a big special teams blunderfest.
You lost
Tennessee,
2
right?
games.
Yes.
Tennessee.
And that's why I got mad at him. Because you can't sit there and tell me about the back end of your roster. You lost 2 games to bad teams on special
that have
teams
bad rosters,
who have worse records than Jets are a worse record than us, right? So, by the way, he might not have wanted to be here, and this could have been part of the end game for all I know. If you win those 2 games, I don't think we spend the last 25 days talking about head coaches. I think if you win 7 games, I think Kevin's still here.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do.
So is this a blessing for Kevin Stefanski?
Maybe it is.
But
Maybe
remember,
it is. Maybe
that
he
why
ordered the
they get rid
code
of him?
red for all we know.
They ran the fire drill and he kicked a field goal one week. It was a big deal.
That was a good job.
The winning field goal.
That was a good job. I mean, credit where it's due.
Green
Fine.
Bay.
Even if I take one away, you still lost to the Titans or the Jets. You pick one of the worst because of special teams. So you are. This is why I can't go ripping Miles all the way, because if you're standing there and you're Myles Garrett, like, what the F do I have to do? What do we have to do? We are playing 2/3 of our football team. We're playing the opponent, and then we're playing the offense and our own special teams here. This is ridiculous. But going back to that, I just think that, there's a shared responsibility. Now, I think that everybody has, if you have better players, you're going to win more football games. Newsflash, everybody. If he gets better players with the Rams, and he probably will, than what we have here, he's going to win. He's going to look better, and there's going to be more football games. But he told me everything I needed to know when he publicly said that. It is not your job. You can say they're bad privately. You can go ahead. You can be frustrated and slam the door behind you and go, I can't do it. I can't make them into NFL players. You can do that all you want in private. But when you say that, it just sounds like you're giving me excuse. It's Hugh Jackson. You're giving me garbage.
So why does that seem to matter more to me?
You have to do what you can to try to get them to point B.
Why does that seem to matter more to me and you than it does to Sean McVay?
Because I have a lot of respect for Sean McVay. I'm a big fan of Sean McVay. I'm not going to deride him and say he don't know what he's doing. So maybe we're going to end up being the idiots in the end. Because you're right. This is his start to becoming a head coach. So I was going to ask you, everybody wants to remember when we're wrong, and that's the fun of it. Now, if I sat there and tell everybody how right you were at times or how right I am at times, that's boring, it sucks, and it's pompous.
Show would not be fun.
It would not be fun.
Fortunately, we haven't been right enough.
The fun of the show is remembering when we're wrong. So let's put it down now on the record. Will Bubba Ventrone, do you think, be a head coach in 2 years? He is 43 years old.
Well,
by the time he's 45.
The problem is he's got to get in line. How many assistants
there's
right
Nate
now?
Scheelhaus.
Yeah.
So did Mike LaFleur get the Cardinals job yesterday? I don't want to bog it down here. So let's go where it is. Let's just say, other guy. I mean, Nate Scheelhaus and Mike LaFleur could have been head coaches.
I'll say 5 years, honestly.
5 years?
Yeah, I'll say 5 years.
I ain't going to remember what I said 5 years from now about this. I mean, good God.
Well, I just mean in that window. Because I just said he's got to wait in line because he's just got guys ahead of him now.
He's behind Udinski. Like, Udinski's going to get a job before him, right?
Yes.
If they were guys that told the Browns thanks but no thanks this season, they'll get a job before
But
Bubba.
you remember everything we said 2 years ago. It's like, oh, this guy's going to be head coach.
Yeah.
Like, we got this guy. He's great. And it's like, we're still saying the same things, and it still sucks. And by the way, I know some people in Indianapolis, and they were not upset.
Yeah.
So it's like everywhere he goes, everybody who's a fan is like, bye-bye, and then they go somewhere else, and now you're exactly right. It's like, oh, my God, we're getting one of the premier special teams coaches in the NFL. And people in Indianapolis, on my kids, they're like, guys, good luck. Okay.
And listen.
And here we are.
This isn't even necessarily, I know we're talking Bubba Ventrone. It's not necessarily about Bubba Ventrone. It's just I don't remember a lot of examples of this in the NFL where a team could play as poorly as they did for 2 years, not a 1 year dip. That happens in this league.
Yeah.
Guys have a bad year, even really good coach. Kyle Shanahan has had like 3 really bad years, okay? But people know he's a good coach. I can't remember a team being this bad for 2 years and everybody chalking it up to everybody but the coaches. I've never seen it. I've never seen anything like it. I'm sure there's an example somewhere, but for 2 whole years?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's some. Chad O'Shea has another job,
and
right?
a team that had talent on it. The Browns weren't. We got a guy named Myles Garrett on the team. We got a guy named Denzel Ward on the team. We had exciting rookies this year. I mean, Mina Kimes is out there tweeting about Harold Fannin and what kind of incredible future he has, and Quinshon Judkins, if not for the injuries and not for the bad offensive line, how special he could have been. Carson Schlesinger, defensive rookie of the year. It's not like this team. I mean, you imagine if we were some of those.
What, are you watching the Rams closely then in 2026?
Well,
because we're all watching the Falcons.
Yeah,
we're
we're definitely watching Atlanta.
Yeah, but are we watching the Rams closely in 2026?
Well, they're just going to be on national television all year.
Because I got to admit, one, I like, and I'm sure I'll just get a bunch of hate mail. I don't care. Yeah, I want Kevin to be successful down there. I don't want him to be successful against the Browns when they play the Browns. I want the Browns to win.
And he didn't take any shots at us out the door.
He didn't take any shots at us out the door. In fact, he was really quite pleasant out the door compared to some other guys and how they left. I want to be right about Bubba Ventrone because I thought it was wrong of him to say what he said. I mean, there's been some guys who have been some miserable people who've worked here, and I didn't even think they said what he said publicly. I mean, I just did not like that. It wasn't constructive. It didn't help. Maybe he was defending his coach, but no, this is the. I tweeted the other day, this is the agent portion of the program, where now he's widely known as one of the best. Yeah, I know. I get texts too. Not as many as what Jeremy Fowler is going to join us at 9 o'clock. Not as many as him. Certainly not as many as Traeger, but yeah. Oh, yeah, he's great. He's wonderful. Okay, we'll see. 216-474-0092, and maybe we'll be wrong. Add it to the list. Speaking of old coaches, I'm tired of talking to old coaches. We still have to ask about another guy because is he in or is he out? And I started to pick up a feeling yesterday, and it made me feel a little bit better. I think the tide is starting to turn a little bit with some of the Browns fans out there. Ken Carman, Tone Master General. Anthony Lima, if you're not mistaken. We're live on The Fan and on YouTube Live for absolutely positively free.
west at the Turnpike and 90 east at Eddy. Accidents have the left lanes blocked 90 east at 57 and 271 north at 303. This is Joe Checkeye for 92.3 The Fan.
Hear all of the latest from this week's Senior Bowl in Mobile. Total football coverage. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
All right, welcome back, damn it. Daryl Ryder joins us at 8:20 this morning. If it ain't going to be Jim Schwartz, then who the hell is it going to be? Somebody tweeted me an idea yesterday. I'm like, I kind of like that idea. I'm going to share it with Daryl. But you got to wait till 8:20 about who the DC could be. There's one guy I really, really have a lot of respect for. I get really excited about. You wouldn't have to look far. I might like that idea. I don't think the fans are going to like it, but I might like that idea.
Well, Josina,
I'll tell you about it at 8:20.
Josina Anderson had floated, according to her source.
Co-head coaches?
The co-head coaches.
Co-defensive coordinators?
Here's what I wonder. Could you do it where, all right, whoever gets the ball first, you start out the game, like if the offense gets it first, you are the head coach.
Yeah.
Until you punt the ball. Then now it goes back and forth. And wherever the ball is on the last possession, that's who gets to make the final call.
Well, can you defer being head coach to the second half?
I'll do it in the second half. We'll see how things go in the first half.
I want the win when I'm coaching.
Yeah, do you want the win or do you want the coaching? You want the headset?
That is so youth football stuff right there. Oh, no, we're co-head coaches. Oh, okay. We'll see what happens after you lose. We'll see who's the head coach after the game's over.
Oh, he finishes my sentences. We work together so well. The chemistry.
Yeah, that's how that works. 216-474-0092.
As I smash my belongings into the box, he takes them back out of the box.
There's another guy who's set to be a free agent. Lima's been bothering me about talking about him, and I'm going to hold off as long as I can, which means I'll probably hold off for about the next 20 minutes or so, and then I'll finally give in, and we'll talk about the guy. I'm starting to feel the tide turn with a lot of fans, and I thought it would happen earlier. I thought it would happen yesterday morning, and it didn't, because I think with the Jim Schwartz fallout, it didn't. And we got a lot of calls, but again, I was saying through the show, and you said it through the show as well. I go, guys, like, I know you guys don't like the owner, and I know you guys don't like the process. I did not take one call yesterday, and I think Baskin and Phelps took some right after the news was broken yesterday or 2 days ago, right? But earn that in the immediate reaction. I've heard a lot of nasty things about the Browns and a lot of nasty things about the process and all that stuff. You are more than welcome to have those feelings, for the love of God. They have proven time and time again, if you think less of them, you are going to be right. However, there ain't one person who's called in on this show in the last 6 hours of radio and has said Todd Monken's a bad coach. None of us have said, and none of us have, but you and I haven't said it. In fact, we're all like, well, he's a pretty good coach, pretty good offensive mind. And when I think about it more, like I picked up my son from practice yesterday, and I'm talking to some of the buddies out there, some of the dads, and I go, it's the damnedest thing, because I know we're all rolling our eyes at it, and I know that you start to get yourself excited for 30-year-old coaches, and all right, we're going to be part of the new trend of the NFL, young guys, even though Kevin was 39 when they hired him, or 38 when they hired him, or whatever it was. We're going to go younger. We're going to skew younger with this. This is going to be great. This, that, and the other. And then you get a 60-year-old, and you kind of go, wow, gosh, and you didn't really consider him that strongly, even though he had the second interview and all the other stuff. But damn, I don't have anybody lining up to say this guy sucks as a coach, because we were all going, yeah, the roster's rough. And somebody had asked me yesterday when I picked up my son, they go, well, why would he even take the job? I go, because he's 60 years old. He'll probably be retired when this is over. I hope he gets to the end of the 5-year contract. I don't think 5 years on a contract means anything. I think that Jimmy Haslam would turn right around, and if this team won one game this next year
it's a one-year
and they
contract.
were a mess, it's a 1-year deal. Enjoy your next 4 years and the rest of your retirement. I think this is probably Todd Monken's last job in professional football. You're 60. It's a head coaching job. It's kind of a retirement thing. Let's see where it goes. And maybe he's the head coach for the next 10, 15 years. He's 75 as the head coach of the Browns. Probably a fat chance, but here we are. But I'm going, well, they're going to be organized. They're going to have their ducks in a row. I know he knows what he's doing. I know it didn't end well in Baltimore, but again, it didn't end well for John. It didn't end well for Greg Roman. It usually doesn't end well. That's why they end. He did a good job at Georgia. He's been a good offensive coordinator. He's organized. He knows what he's doing. I keep using the term organized because I just remember when he was here in 2019, he was appalled at the disorganization of everything. Like, it put him in a bad mood every day. And I'm just like, yeah, they'll have their ducks in a row. They're just not a great roster. So I don't think we're going to lose a lot. Like, you always have a stupid thing that happens. It's the human element. And you may have a stupid thing that happens where you lose a game or two. It happens. I don't think you're going to lose games based on ineptitude and stupidity and silly decisions. Like, I just don't know how many times we're going to come in here bitching about timeouts and fourth quarter. I don't know if we're going to have a lot of pre-snap penalties and illegal motions and things like that of what we've had. I think that they will be more buttoned up. And then it's just like, hey, you probably don't have the horses. No pun intended, I understand. But you probably don't have the horses, and you're probably not going to win a whole lot of football games this coming football season.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I am at, too.
And by the way, you get fired for losing a bunch of football games. That's true, too.
You know, at times, because we've seen Freddie Kitchens, because we've seen Hugh, and I get it, they weren't trying to win a lot of games, the organization, but Hugh was not a good football coach, and Freddie Kitchens was just flat out in over his head. Mm-hmm. Because we've seen
Hugh became more obsessed with his own power than actually winning football games. But
because he knew where it was all trending. Yeah. He knew he was going to be out of a job. So I look at it from the perspective of, like, this situation right now is not ideal, right? It's not. I think USA Today said it ended up being the worst hire or the second worst hire of all the hirings right now. And I'm like, all right, Todd Monken can coach a football team. Like, I don't think we're going to be sitting there 5 weeks in going, oh, my God, now this is why Todd Monken never got to sniff the head coaching job in the NFL. Like, why he was always considered really good coordinator, smart guy, tough-talking guy. Like, I don't think we're going to approach that. So he's gonna look like a head coach, and at times he's going to sound like some of the head coaches, not all of them. Like, he is not a PC coach. I've seen, and I listened to the podcast he did in Baltimore.
That's another thing,
like,
too.
He honestly kind of sounded to me like Greg Williams.
People are hearing him cuss, and they're kind of liking him more. Because they're doing the deep dives into some of the stuff since, I mean, it's been 6-7 years now since he's been here, and it's like, yeah, they're seeing some of the clips of him now, and they're kind of like, okay, I'm warming up to him
and
a little
look,
bit.
just like Kevin's corporate speak can wear on a team, and I think did over time, I also think a guy swearing all the time, being a red, you know what? Like, I think that can wear on a team too if you're not winning.
If there's meaning to it, if you're just cussing them out, they're gonna tune you out.
Yeah, and if it's the same messaging all the time. So obviously he's had his entire career to kind of hone in on what his messaging would be when he's the top guy. So I do think he's an accountability guy. Like, I think that is something that was lost.
I totally agree.
With the previous staff, the previous head coach.
Yes.
So I do think fans can get excited about that. But in the end, like, do we have a coach that's going to give us an appreciable edge from game to game? Too early to tell. I just don't know. Well, but I think he's going to be the consummate pro.
I love what you just said. Like, I don't want to spill all beans all the time. There's plenty of time to do that. One of the things that I thought was happening in this last year and why you started to get a little bit of an inkling when things were going to go awry is there were a couple of changes within the lineup, a couple of changes within the organization during the season that didn't seem to be accountability, that didn't seem to make sense. And that bothered me hearing it. I think it bothered some of the guys who ended up being characters in that disorganization. I want to bring up two examples. One is a guy who I like in Bill Callahan, and it's not like he's a fuzzy character at all. It's just there's a lot of respect there. The other one's a guy, Kyle Shanahan, who I dislike, obviously. And we've talked about that many times. But the players like him. And why is that? Because Bill Callahan and Kyle Shanahan, remember when John Greco told the story, I go, John, we're buddies. We're all three buddies. Why do I get along so well with you? And that guy I thought was insufferable. And why do you like him? And he goes, because he told me exactly what I needed to do. And it was just crystal clear. It's a job, and if you can't do this, we're just going to find somebody else. Bill Callahan was the same way. I think Todd Monken will be the same way. If you can't do it, we are going to replace you as soon as we possibly can. There is no flowers. There's no different ways to soften the blow. And I think that professional football players respect it. And so I think that, you can't replace them all in 1 year, but there is going to be plenty of this is honesty. And we'll do what we can to get you there, but damn it, if you can't do it, we're going to find things out. And there's also going to be, there's little things that you have to do. Remember, John's weight was an issue. And Kyle Shanahan said, you have to be here by this weight or there's going to be a problem. And Bill Callahan, you have to be here and have this ready or you're not going to play. We're going to get rid of you. And if you can set those boundaries right off the tippy top, I think a lot of guys actually respect that. I know that we go, we got to kowtow to players. We have to be soft to them. No, I think that professionals can respect honesty.
Yeah, I don't want to be guessing what the charge is from time to time from leadership. Some guys, they like to directly know exactly that.
So have you started to come around on Todd Monken? Because nobody has said anything nasty about Todd Monken himself. The process, have at it. It was a crazy process. But the result, I don't know how many games you're going to win. I still don't think you're going to win that many games. But the result is you got yourself what seems like a solid coach. 216-474-0092. I'm going to get to some of you guys. And you've been bothering me off the air about it. Guys, I like leftover Chinese. I don't like leftover pot roast. And I certainly don't like leftover quarterbacks. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work on that free Odyssey app. Northeast Factory Direct. No.
U, the letter R, genius. See website for details.
A crash has the right lane blocked, Route 10 west at the Turnpike. Accidents in the left lanes, 90 east at 57 and 271 north at 303. This is Joe Checkeye for 92.3 The Fan.
Daryl Ryder coming up at 8:20 this morning. Should we ask a Guardians question with Daryl? Coming up at 8:20?
Yeah,
based on what you
absolutely.
just read me? Excellent. Yeah, that should be called out. And so we'll talk about that with Daryl coming up at 8:20. I have the dumbest thing. I hope. Let me correct myself. I hope it's the dumbest thing you hear all year. I hope that this is the stupidest thing when I'm going to play for you at 7 o'clock. Lima, I think, is with me on this. I hope it's the dumbest thing you hear all year. Because if there's anything stupider that's said throughout this coming off-season and football season, we are going to a real bad place. I have maybe one of the dumbest bits of audio to ever play for you that I've ever heard in sports media and in liking sports as a child ever. But we'll play that for you coming up at 7 o'clock. All right, you ready to do this? I'm ready to do it. No, not interested. So if you want to start that conversation, you go right on ahead.
Yeah, so yesterday the news came out that Kirk Cousins, who people thought would be a dream come true for Kevin Stefanski, but he got waived. So he ended up starting 8 games last year, and the numbers were not good, right? He was not good Kirk Cousins.
No, they weren't.
He also wasn't among, he wasn't in the same neighborhood or category as our quarterback play this year. Like, he was much better than what we had. In fact, he was right around where Lamar Jackson was for the year, which I found very interesting in some of those advanced metrics. But still, that was bottom half, right? He was a slightly average to below average quarterback yet last year in those 8 starts. And obviously, mobility, huge concern.
I still don't understand why I was mad at you last week about Malik Willis. I don't get, what did you say to make me red-faced and angry at you over Malik Willis? Think about that. Oh, somebody. I'll have the Malik Willis conversation. I'll have a lot of conversation about a lot of guys. I'm not, how old's Kirk Cousins? 167 years old? I mean, come on, guys. Hey, I'm not any thrilled about it either. I got a lot of cuss-out tweets yesterday.
He's a total stopgap.
You guys came after the messenger. It's not a lot of people. It's the internet. But
he's like 37. Going to be 38 come August.
There were a couple people who came after the messenger, and because I had said, like, hey, Monken, I know for a fact, has said some very glowing things about Deshaun Watson. And how could you? I go, I don't want Deshaun Watson out there. Fine. I have the Deshaun Watson conversation because I think we have to. And that's going to be a $46 million conversation that you're still paying the guy. I don't want to bring in that guy. I don't think that Kirk Cousins goes at all with what Todd Monken really wants to do, what Todd Monken is comfortable with. Like I saw the Senior Bowl stuff. I know Carson Beck isn't down there; he just played. But I saw the Senior Bowl stuff about Carson Beck and how Todd Monken, obviously was coaching with saw Carson Beck and all that other stuff, and they have time together. I have the Carson Beck conversation if you guys want to, even though I don't really want to draft a quarterback at all this coming year. I'll have that conversation, fine. The Malik Willis, everybody else, fine, do it. I'm 30-something-year-old, 35-plus-year-old quarterbacks who are not the most mobile and certainly not the most mobile anymore. I saw him in that last game he played. He does not move very, very well at all. He's had serious leg injuries. I'm done. I know it was fun last year when he was at Chipotle in Westlake. I get it all, man, but no, I'm done. I'm not doing leftover pot roast conversation.
Now, you said something very interesting, though, at the start here. You're like, Todd Monken and the way that he runs an offense. Isn't the whole thing about Todd is that over the course of his career, he's done it a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
There's no one stringent, strategy that he likes to go about. Like, if you knew with the Kubiaks or Shanahan, you kind of know what you're getting. Monken, I'm not exactly sure what the offense is going to look like.
Let me ask you this, though. I don't even want to make it a because it sounds like I'm just trying to be nasty towards Kirk Cousins. That's not the right thing.
Just said his age. He's going to be 38.
He's been a nice, sturdy quarterback for a long time. He just got injured. And honestly, there's just a lot of things about him that just seem to be he's the Hank Hill of the NFL. I mean, he's got 3 mansions all around the Great Lakes of all places. I mean, he's got Coles Cash, the whole thing.
Was he on the studio show for CBS last game? I thought he was decent.
There's a lot of things. Kirk Cousins is another dad in your neighborhood, and your kids play together and ride bikes around. He's another coach with you in youth football and youth wrestling, and he might as well be a guy in Avon Lake. There ain't nothing wrong with Kirk Cousins as a person, at least that I know of. It's how close do you think you are? How close do you really think? Because that's why they went and got him, and there was questions when they went and got him. How close do you really think you are? If you don't think you're close at all, that's why I told you what I told you about Deshaun Watson. I don't want to play Deshaun Watson. I don't think we're close. So I'm like, hey, let's just start the season with Shedeur Sanders. Have your competition, quote unquote, whatever. I'd rather just play Shedeur Sanders to start the year. If he really goes out there and he sucks up the room and he's at the bottom of all your charts and it's like, hey, there might have not been much to figure out, but he's been figured out fine. You guys want to go ahead and play number 4, go ahead and play number 4. What the hell? All I got is time. But if we thought that this could be a playoff team, I would kick around the conversation a little bit.
Okay, that's
because
interesting.
It's like, all right, you're an older guy. Maybe you're a hell of a hand. I'm not going to put him in the same category as Aaron Rodgers.
Well, you'd say Joe Flacco.
Yeah, that's kind of where you're at. And I don't think he's as good as some of those other guys. But, I mean, Joe Flacco's right there in that conversation, so fine. But I don't think we're that great. So it's like, what am I doing? Am I in that big of a hurry?
And do you think it would have made more sense if Kevin Stefanski was the head coach? Which is ironic because they just cut him.
It made a lot of sense. It made more sense last year, but now it really doesn't make any sense because you know that there's a relationship there. But again, he made an exorbitant amount of money. They're ready to move on. I don't know what they're going to do with Michael Penix Jr. because he's been so oft injured. Like, they got some serious things that they have to do, and Terry Fontenot kind of put them behind the 8 ball, kind of like we're behind the 8 ball right now. But it's not, I should always change this. When I call him leftover pot roast, it sounds demeaning. And it kind of is, I understand. He's been, what?
Well, it's certainly not endearing.
A lot of people like leftover pot roast,
it's a meal.
though. That's the whole deal
It is
of
a meal.
Like, my dad will, if my dad's listening, he will text me and he will say, what's wrong, that's good eating. That's exactly what will come out of his mouth. My dad's a time-honored meat man for a long time.
Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, leftover pot roast day. All right.
I don't know. That is a hearty protein.
You pull it out of the. Did you keep it in the bottom of the fridge? Did you put them in the freezer? Don't
Liz,
put it in
what
the
are we
freezer.
having for dinner?
Oh.
I don't want to do anything. Are you sure? What are we going to eat for dinner? I guess we'll just eat the leftover pot roast.
Wait. You haven't explained. What are the fixins? What kind of fixins are we getting here?
I just go back to my childhood. And you know what? Maybe this is a core memory for me that I'm unlocking, and I just need to go through some of my childhood trauma eating it. It's like, pull out that pot roast in there. And, well, Dad didn't call it a pot roast. He just called it a roast. Pull out the roast.
The roast,
and you pull it out, and it's got that jellied gravy in there because it's cold now. And he's like, yeah, we're going to eat that tonight. I'm like, great. And then Dad never had thick gravy. He would always make that watery gravy. That's
what the microwave is for.
Like Liz's
care of that.
Liz's roast. I don't mind to upset my father. My wife's roast 1,000 times better than my dad's. She poured the Coke in there and stuff like that. And it made like a thicker gravy.
I used to put Coke on his roast.
Okay.
How much longer are you allowed to make that joke before Mason starts to listen and we catches on?
I got family here. Owen, family.
Because my son's 10, and I still make a lot of terrible jokes about my past. I mean, you think about it. If my son clicks in, you guys are making jokes about his mother having relations with Snoop Dogg. Think about that. Anyway, that's what my dad loved that pot roast. My mom loved that pot roast. If my mom was alive, she'd still love that pot roast. She'll haunt me in my office later tonight over what I'm saying about my father's pot roast. And I think a lot of you guys might haunt me over what I'm saying about Kirk Cousins. If there's leftover pot roast, 50 of you like the pot roast. 50 of you agree with me. And it ain't worth it. I'd rather just go get a Hungry Man out of the freezer and just call it a night. You make the pot roast, and that's the end of the pot roast. We're done.
You can't say like. 50 of you will go, fine. That's fine. I guess that's what we're having today.
And there's a couple of you who have to actually go out and get it because you have to go out and get it. And you go, oh, that's good.
And if it's Kirk Cousins, there'll be 50 of them that go, fine. If that's the quarterback we have to play, I guess we'll play him.
Just heat it up. The baby carrots, They're never like that because you're in a hurry because it's leftover. So
I
they're
like the
never
baby
they're never
carrots.
that soft. Yeah, but they're not done all the way through. So they're like kind of crunchy. The mashed taters. Oh, God, you ever have with the leftover mashed taters?
Yeah.
It's like bringing it back an old running back. Here you go. Here's Kirk Cousins. Here's a tight end he used to like to throw to. Great. Awesome. Here we go with this offense. That's what that offense would look like.
Adam Thielen and Kirk Cousins.
Just feels like a sad Thursday in the middle of the winter. That's what that feels like to me. Or you know what? No, because roast is a Sunday dinner. It's a Monday, cold-ass January. Nobody's in the mood for anything. You just want to go to sleep and wake up, and it's spring. That's what Kirk Cousins is in the NFL. And no offense to him, a lot of people have eaten pot roast for a long time, and he's done well, but it's just not my future, man. Let's start young. Let's start fresh. Let's eat fresh when it comes to some of these quarterbacks, man. Give me the Malik Willis. Have that conversation. Give me you want to do the Davis Mills conversation? We'll do the Davis Mills conversation. Knock yourself out. I don't care. I'm done. Kirk Cousins that's a dead conversation moving. But we'll ask Jeremy Fowler and Darryl Ryder about that, both at 8:20 and 9 o'clock this morning. Coming up in 5 minutes, folks, I hope this is the dumbest thing you are going to hear all season for your own good. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima. Stupidity coming up at 7:01 on The Fan.
This is an Odyssey Sports.
season by following the Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
92.3 The Fan's big game coverage is presented nationally by Tide. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide.
You ready to hear something stupid? I got something stupid for you, Tone. Daryl Ryder's going to join us at 8:20. Now, he's not stupid. He's not stupid. Jeremy Fowler's at 9 o'clock. He's not stupid. You want stupidity? Away we go.
Any expectation for Shedeur Sanders under Todd Monken, I believe, will lead to disappointment. There is nothing about Todd Monken as a head coach that should get you excited. As an offensive coordinator, you could say Lamar Jackson had an MVP season under Todd Monken. As an offensive coordinator, Lamar Jackson had 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions under Todd Monken. As an offensive coordinator, you can make arguments under Todd Monken. Stetson Bennett won 2 national championships at Georgia under Todd Monken. But as a head coach, no. Nothing about Todd Monken as a head man gets me excited. I need to see who the offensive coordinator is going to be. But what I don't yet see, T, is like, how is Todd Monken going to command that locker room, command that group of men? And also, if I'm Shedeur or anybody in that locker room, why am I listening to Todd Monken? What have you won on an NFL level as a head coach? I don't even have expectations for Shedeur under Todd Monken because I believe any expectations I would have, he would not meet. Because why am I excited about it, T? Why?
Audio courtesy is Speakeasy. I'm very respectful of guys who have ever played in the league. Like, people used to call in and they used to get into it with Dustin, be like, you only had 8 tackles. Like, yeah, 8 tackles more than we ever had. Like, I'll always respect that. It was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. Covering football, covering sports, watching sports, that there was one of the silliest things I've ever heard in my entire life. I don't like saying dumb. I don't like saying stupid. There's no other word for it. What he said was dumb, and if you agreed with it, that's dumb too. Now, Todd Monken might end up, I don't think he's going to end up being a boob. You need to know who the OC is going to be. Todd Monken's going to be the OC, or you'll have an OC, but Todd's going to end up being the one calling the plays. That's how that's going to work out. I'd be shocked if it wasn't, but fine, we can go ahead and we do that. I mean, telling the rookie quarterback who's going into year 2, what have you ever told me? That's, what? This is real. This is a real opinion. And people go, well, you shouldn't give it the light of day. He just wants his name out there. I would not want to be known for being stupid. That's my whole thing. I've said stupid things. I would not go out of my way to want to know to be known as being dumb.
Well, is he saying
it seems ridiculous?
Is he saying all young quarterbacks in the league should not listen to somebody like Todd Monken, or just
they have
Shedeur?
Sean Payton or Andy Reid. Go ahead and say all young quarterbacks. He mentioned Shedeur because they're talking about the Browns situation, and anytime you mention Shedeur, people are going to listen, clearly. But it's unless they go out and steal Sean Payton or Andy Reid away from their teams, it's like, well, why are you paying attention to any of them?
Well, he said he hasn't won as a head coach, so by that logic, anybody that's not John Harbaugh that got hired this cycle,
or last year,
don't listen to them.
Caleb Williams should not have listened to Ben Johnson.
But this is my problem with it. Like, it's about you when you put. We all know about SEO, all right? Lima SEO is search engine optimization. Yes. If you put Shedeur Sanders or Arch Manning or Browns or anything like, you put Browns in something here, like, people are they're gonna search, and it's gonna be there on social media. It's gonna be on there all over the place. So if you put Shedeur in there, obviously it's gonna populate in mine. I didn't go out looking for it. Then this shows up on mine. I go, oh God, what's he saying again? And I couldn't believe it was even dumber than some of the other things I've heard Emmanuel Acho say in my life. And I just couldn't believe what was being said. And I go, well, this is part of it. This is why I get so upset about some of the stuff that goes to Shedeur and why some of the stuff that's being said about him over this last year. Because I can't stand it when people go, well, it's not even a point. Like, when I got into it with Jason, like, they need to do, when he said he needed to be cut, I go, that's ridiculous. Over what? Over goofballs on podcasts and goofballs on social media and goofballs on the radio and TV? I go, no. You don't cut a guy over that. You deal with it. You're a professional sports organization. You're a professional football team, for crying out loud. So this is what I wallow in, is silliness and stupidity, and this is as dumb as I've ever heard in my life. But it contributes to the silly conversations and stupidity of what I've heard surrounding a quarterback that we can't even really have a legitimate conversation about over the last nearly 12 months.
I've obviously gotten frustrated at times over people speaking for Shedeur that I don't think have Shedeur's best interest. But I don't even think Shedeur, and you guys tell me, the Shedeur fans, and I just pulled up our YouTube Live to see the comments. I don't believe that the Shedeur fans that go after people like me on an everyday basis, I don't think they associate with these comments, because I think what I saw, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I'm on the YouTube Live right now. I think you guys were excited about going from Kevin Stefanski to Todd Monken based on the work he had done with Lamar Jackson and others, but I thought you guys were excited. So I'm surprised.
Do you want to put out the back call to the Shedeur fans and see whether or not they are excited about Todd Monken? Because if this is pro Shedeur, I mean, this is ridiculous here. The Todd Monken thing as their new head coach and not listening to Todd Monken. What are you saying? You've been in an NFL locker room. Even if you took a tour of an NFL locker room, you know that's a stupid thing to say, let alone actually put on a jersey. That's the dumbest thing I've ever... honestly, of all the silly-ass things that we've been talking about for the last nearly 12 months, considering Shedeur Sanders and all the things that I've looked at and I've gone, geez, I don't even want to give that the light of day. And I give this a light of day because I go, this is an abomination here of the sport and of the team and of him. And I hate that people are going to hear that, and then when I go, you got to give them another chance because of what the rest of the locker room is, what the rest of the quarterback room is, and what we can seriously get. Somehow I'll get roped into this silliness, and that can't be done. It can't be done. He may be a great quarterback. He may be a passable quarterback. Let's crawl before we walk here. There were definitely things that I think he got better at, and that I think that you had to watch. And a lot of people don't want to accept that because they have arguments online about this stupidity.
I have seen most on here right now on YouTube Live. They are saying they are excited and they are not listening to Emmanuel Acho.
Thank God. Thank God there's common sense out there. Even on the internet, there's common sense. 216-474-0092. By the way, Owen, I know you're doing a lot of work over there for our 8 o'clock segment coming up. Twitter reactions are brought to you by who?
Scheibman Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
7:08 and 34 seconds for their scoring at home. You play this, and I almost don't want to play it because then it gets blamed right on us for even giving it any air. But it just adds to this silliness of, well, should Shedeur even be QB1? Should they have a competition? Would it be better if they made a clean break? I go, what has he done to be a bad teammate? I understood the Johnny stuff when you heard about Johnny showing up, still boozed up from the night before. You guys went over the stories. We went over the stories. I mean, good God, the Johnny Vegas or Knoxville or whatever the hell his name was at the time, that goes against it. Johnny was worth saying, it ain't worth the squeeze. We got to get rid of this guy. He's poisoning the water. This is the exact argument I'm making. This encompasses why I got so cross with Jason a month ago.
And I agree with you.
And you agreed with me. This is and I love Jason, man, and he's a very smart guy. All the eraser phrase I need to say, I love him. I just disagree with him as strongly as I've ever disagreed with him on this issue in sports. This is the difference between our world and their world. And when a guy like Emmanuel Acho says it, who has split both worlds, you have forgotten what it was like. Maybe that's part of the reason you only spent a little bit of time there. But again, I'm not the former professional football player, so that's all I can say about that. I got to stay in my lane on that. But that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard anybody with a microphone in front of them say.
And I've never heard, I got to say, Shedeur, and I think both of us have been on the same page on, at the very least, what's wrong? What's wrong with bringing in somebody to compete with? And maybe that would get the best out of Shedeur. Heck, last year, people were telling us every day that Shedeur was beating Dylan Gabriel in a competition. We just found out it wasn't a real competition. It wasn't actually a competition to win the starting job.
And that might be, and you know what? That is one of the reasons I can't deny, because I've seen a guy where and some people are defensive of Dillon Gabriel, and that's fine. I don't give a damn. I don't think he should have been drafted in the 3rd round. I don't think he should have been drafted here. I don't think he's a bad guy. I do think that he is a career backup at best, and I don't know why. I don't know what Kevin or what anybody else saw in him to draft him, and I think that has been proven already, and that has been brought up several times. I mean, Zach even brought it up earlier this week. He came running out for the Senior Bowl, and Zach checked him off, and they draft the guy in the 3rd round. So that didn't make any sense to me. And to me, in our world, that's the Waterloo of Kevin, is that I saw a guy afraid to push the ball down the field, afraid to challenge a defense. He might have a great computer brain. And if he's going to be a head coach, by the way, he's going to have to get out of that conservative mode if he's going to do it, or understand that there's going to be guys who have better physical attributes than him.
He could be Sean Mannion in a couple of years.
Maybe he's going to be him in a couple of years, because that was incredible to say the least when I saw that yesterday with the Eagles. But when it comes to Shedeur, that was my whole thing with it. It wasn't a personal thing against Dillon Gabriel. I just couldn't believe that you had that much faith to draft him in the 3rd round. And then you take Shedeur in the 5th round, and clearly, even though that neither of them might end up being a tremendously great franchise quarterback, it's like
Shedeur's got so many more tools to work with.
That was my problem, is that one guy clearly should not have been throwing to ball boys and whatever the other stuff was. I understand that maybe he was behind because of the offenses that were given, but if you're going to work with somebody,
over.
That was that's over. He was way more worth working with.
I would love
than
to know.
Dillon Gabriel.
I would love to know Todd Monken. Has he contacted? We heard that we didn't play this audio on the air or anything.
I hope he has.
But Kevin Stefanski texted Bijan immediately, because he said he was so excited, and then called him first thing in the morning because he was worried about whether he woke him up or not. I'd kind of like to hear something like that from Monken. Now, he hasn't given a press conference. He hasn't.
Won't until next week.
Won't happen until next week, but he'll be asked about that. I think that would be awesome and think about the messaging, because, I'm sitting here wondering. I'm on right now. I'm reading every single comment right now, and somebody even said, "Wow, I can't believe I would listen to Lima before Acho," and it was meant to be disparaging to me. But that's how much they do not associate with those comments.
Well, they think you hate them.
I would love, and hey, look, I've said some hard things. There's no doubt. I would love it if Todd Monken, and honestly, it would be almost more of a vouching than I've heard from Kevin Stefanski. I would love it if Monken got up there in front of everybody, was asked about Shedeur, looked right in the cameras, and we've been talking nonstop. I already gave him a plan of attack. Here's how I think. Here's how I envision him operating. That would immediately get me more excited about the situation between the two of them.
I totally agree. I would even go as far as, I know what I said about Dillon Gabriel, but I think that he should be in communication with all 3 quarterbacks. If you wanted it to open up to all of them, fine. I think it's going to end up being a Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders competition. I would obviously give leeway to Shedeur Sanders to be my starter going into this year. I'd love to kick the tires on him one more year. I'm tired of waiting for Godot on Deshaun Watson. I'm tired of having conversations about a quarterback that I think is back in 2020 and is never coming back. But I understand that this is the Browns and this is a desperate situation and they may play. I hope that Todd Monken has reached out to them. And obviously, I think Shedeur Sanders is a guy who's going to pay attention to a guy
100%.
who's had a long history in offense in the NFL and is a 60-year-old guy and knows what he's doing. 216-474-0092. Coming up in 5 minutes. When the boss does it, that's expected. When you do it, you're being a suck-up. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on the Fan.
It's Anthony Lima for
Cavs have also won 7 of the last 8, and that includes going 4-0 on the road. Suns are coming off a 114-96 victory last night against Detroit. Phoenix has won 5 of its last 7. Can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
It's good for Shedeur. He had to answer questions in the interview about him. Todd Monken did. We'll get back to that coming up here in a moment. A lot of reactions to the Emmanuel Acho audio. None good for Emmanuel Acho. Again, I hope it's the silliest thing you have to hear all year. Probably won't be, but I hope it's the silliest thing you have to hear all year. Daryl Ryder going to join us at 8:20 this morning. Also about last night coming up at 7:45, where they're going to sit on the bench all day as long as the check clears. I can't believe Antonetti might have said something like that, but we'll play the audio, and I got to judge it for when I hear it. So we've been sitting on this for a couple of days here because it keeps going. It just keeps going. And we've been in coaching search mode and LeBron coming back mode, Cavs mode, the old Darius Garland conversation starting up again. And while all those conversations have been going on, our email has been going and going and going and going. And finally we decided, you know what, Friday we have to put it out there on blast. When a mass email is sent by the boss to congratulate somebody, fine, to talk about whatever goals that you're trying to achieve for a corporation have been met and you want even more, that's great. If other managers do it, great. If you do it, Tone?
Well, I want to know, is it that they are computer illiterate or is it a look at me moment?
Well, what do you mean by that,
it's
Tone?
Tough. It's tough because...
Well, no, I think you immediately judge the person sending it back, and if you know them, you go, I think they might be computer illiterate, or they are definitely looking at me.
These people communicate every day through email. This is how they do their business. It's not like they're the on-air talent, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, okay, let's call it what it is. Slats. I don't think he ever sent a reply all. If Slats would have sent a reply all, what would you have thought?
Yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing.
There you go.
Yeah.
If I send a reply all, or if Nick Wilson sends a reply all, I think Nick's doing it to be cute, which is funny to me.
I think Nick is in on the joke, and I appreciate his effort in the matter.
So we had 2 salespeople here who met a big company goal, and Dustin and Marlon, and they were
win
great.
the Hawaii trip.
I don't know exactly what they won, but they had it. And to congratulate them, I emailed them privately.
Yeah.
Yes, personally.
Yeah.
But immediately, every time this happens, man, and it happens at least twice a month, you just keep checking your email, and it's boom, ba-boom, 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 and it's everybody chiming in, and I'm going, why do you guys continue to hit reply all on this? This is amazing to me.
And it's days after, too.
Yes, it continues to go.
Keep it going.
And is it like you said, is it a look at me? It's obviously a look at me, right?
Yeah, because especially like, look, there are people when you know it's genuine, they're like, oh, they are nice guys in real life. They are not just putting this out there to look a certain way. But then there's some other people where I definitely know these people in real life, and I know that they would never really do that. So are they just making sure that, hey, not only does everybody understand that I'm a team player, because it might have been questioned in the past, but also the managers are understanding that, yeah, not only did I read this email, I'm excited for my coworker.
How many of them people feel that way? Oh, and your thoughts?
Oh, I'd say the high majority of at least 75 to 80% of them feel like, hey, look at me. It's, to me, on the same equivalent of the people that put out the videos of, I'm going to help the unhoused people, right? I'm giving my charitable time, but here's the money I'm spending on it. And
well, wait a minute,
how
though.
great of a person I am.
I don't think it's the same thing. Because
just go do it. Just do it.
But
if you want to thank someone, you work in the same building. I don't need to. You guys sit across from each other. Owen, who does not go over to that side very often, doesn't need to see it.
No,
I don't care that you're congratulating them on all their success.
So, now, wait a minute. Now, this has been one of my little things here. It's like, I know that some people, like Shaquille O'Neal has been well known to not have cameras around him and has done some incredible things for people when nobody's looking. And people have been critical of Dwayne Johnson, where Dwayne Johnson, the red light is on at all times. But I go, well, he still did it. he still did. Now, it seems like maybe to some people he's taking advantage of that person's situation and helping them and getting something back. Okay, but the act is still being done. But I get what you're saying. It's like, well, this isn't even charity. This just seems like sucking up. This just seems like I understand it, and I want everybody. It's almost like they're trying to get credit more than the person who's been honored by all this.
Right.
Well, you know what they're getting? They're getting themselves. I get a ton of emails every day from people that are like, hey, you should have this guy on and interview him about this subject that we're never going to have him on for. But they're continuing to pop up in my Gmail stream, right? Because every day, now 3 days later on an email, it's popping back up. And I'm missing out on the opportunities to have, a guy that wrote a book about golfing.
Yeah, what you're doing is
Masters is coming up, Owen.
You're kind of crippling the company efficiency of which we operate by spamming everybody because now when you're getting the ding, whether it's on your phone or whatever, you're just like, all right, I'm kind of over this. We've already congratulated the individual. Maybe I've done it in person, which, by the way, means way more to those people than just the easiest thing in the world.
Yes.
The easiest thing is just to write a few words on your keyboard and press send. That literally takes zero effort, as opposed to singling out somebody, especially in person, and going to them and congratulating them. That will mean so much more. So just know that. While you're spamming the entire company.
And just know that when you're spamming the company, some of us, begin our day at like 3:30 in the morning, and maybe at 1:30 in the afternoon, it's our one time to have 30 minutes to ourselves and maybe doze off for a minute. And then when your phone's dinging nonstop to go, I second that. Congratulations, Marlon.
Well done, Marlon. Buy more turtlenecks now, which I said to him in private.
Yeah, but he can pull it off.
Oh, God, he's a good-looking man. Marlon's a good-looking man.
There are guys that have no business in turtlenecks.
He wears lifts on his shoes.
Well,
but other than that,
if you're going to go there.
Oh, go ahead. Here we go. Which are we power ranking now?
We're power ranking the guys who cannot pull off turtlenecks.
Well, I thought it was going to be the things you can pull off.
Number one, at the station?
Yeah.
Number 1, me. Number 2, Nick Wilson. Number 3.
You seen Daryl in a turtleneck?
I think Daryl would kill it.
I think it works.
Daryl's like Archer. Daryl has a full closet of black turtlenecks.
Now he has a reason to wear them because he has to cover some things up.
Ooh. Nah, you let those be shown.
You think so?
That's what I gotta tell you, man. All you young guys out there, that's what I miss about Young Love. I loved Hickeys back in the day. I loved them. We all have those little zones, and right there, I mean, they're big old fat jowls now. But back when I was, back when I looked okay, I looked like hell. But you get what I'm saying, right there. Oh, that was nice. That was nice back.
If there's one thing I could tell, high school and college Lima, is don't cover them up because it only helps. Because absolutely, because now you're letting everybody else see that you're capable and somebody else actually is into you. It only helps your cause.
Stop hitting reply all, everybody.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say.
Don't do it.
Okay? My parting shot with that, stop hitting reply all. I got to get
it's meaningless. It bogs everything down. And just understand, everybody's making fun of you behind the scenes.
And you're getting in the way of my Nate Tussey updates. 216-474-0092. Daryl Ryder joins us at 8. Joins us at 8:20. Albert Breer in his mailbag, not the Monday Morning Quarterback, but he is the author of Monday Morning Quarterback after Peter King. He had written in here that, quote, how would you develop Shedeur Sanders is one of the questions that was asked the coaches in the questionnaire. Albert was on Afternoon Drive on Tuesday. He was excellent. And he said, essay's a little overblown. And Daryl was with us on Monday, and some people were like, essay's a little overblown. But there was questionnaires. He says, there's another layer that we can now peel back on the Browns' testing, as he writes here in SI.com. One of the 6 questions on the test, I'm told, was, quote, how would you develop Shedeur Sanders? He was one of 3 players specifically mentioned in that question. Albert then says, after poking around a bit, I can say the candidates didn't take that as a definitive sign that the new Browns coach would have to start Sanders, nor did those guys get that impression in the interview. Moreover, the question was designed to elicit the candidates' views on the head coach's role in developing players, specifically quarterbacks.
Yeah, did you see the other question that actually emerged after the piece came out from Albert Breer?
No, what was it?
We have one of the other questions that says, how would you inform Dylan Gabriel's fiancée that he has been cut and or traded? So that surprised me.
There's like 3 nut jobs out there. It was that one. It's at Sportsboy Tony on social media, okay?
Well,
it wasn't at Ken Carman.
Video.
It wasn't that. You leave him out of this. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing, obviously, for Shedeur Sanders.
First of all,
I think it's a great question to ask. I think it's a great question to ask.
It 100% needed to be a part of the process.
With all 3 guys.
It needed to be part of the process. Listen, Shedeur, for everything that has ever been said about him, whether it was me, whether it was Jason Lloyd, whether it was you or Emmanuel Acho, he is absolutely somebody who showed some promise at times, regardless of the stats or, how it looked. He showed poise at times, making throws while he was getting crushed behind a terrible offensive line. And he clearly demonstrated that he can throw a deep ball and give players a chance vertically that was missing, basically for the entire season. He has to be a part of the conversation. Now, I don't know how big of a part of the conversation. Like, he's obviously not a Joe Burrow on the team if Cincinnati was looking for a new quarterback. And, Jackson Dart. Now, I don't know how much of an interview process there even was with New York because it seemed like immediately they wanted Harbaugh. Harbaugh wanted them. Would Riley Leonard be part of the conversation in Indianapolis? I don't know. Probably not. Who knows? But Shedeur absolutely needed to be a part of the conversation.
I'll tell you this. I think that Riley Leonard probably was.
Okay.
Because, and I know that Indianapolis isn't looking for a new head coach. But I would put all 3 out there, and the reason is, and this is what I liked about this. So this actually makes you feel should make you feel a little bit better about the process. Not that much, but still a little bit better. Is I go back to what we were just talking about with the whole Acho audio and all that silliness. And why I got into a really strong argument a few weeks ago with Jason is the media can think whatever they want. Fans can think whatever they want. Like, I'm a fan and a media member, and I'll tell you this. I'd rather just move on from Deshaun Watson and take the hit and not have to risk him out there and deal with people booing and cheering or possible injuries or any of that other stuff. I'd rather just move on. I'd much rather have Shedeur Sanders out there and have those arguments all day long. Or even Dylan Gabriel, for that matter, or any one of the other young pups that could be possibly coming out of the draft. But you know what? I ain't no NFL head coach. And I wasn't up for the Cleveland Browns job. And if I was the owner of the Cleveland Browns, I would like to know, hey, this is what we have. All right? I can't move out from underneath this contract. This is what we have here. So how would you work with each one of these 3 guys? Shedeur Sanders, who in the media is a polarizing figure, not within the walls of Berea, who Deshaun Watson and Dylan Gabriel. I'll throw Dylan Gabriel in there as well. What would you do to work with all 3? Because if your answer is cut them, I don't think I need to work with you.
Well,
I'm serious.
You're not head coaching material if you don't think that you can work with, basically, we know how many quarterbacks started last year, 62. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a quarterback, most likely, like Denver was the one that they didn't have to go to a backup last year at any point, and then guess what? They needed him in the playoffs, so maybe it would have helped them. But you're exactly right. Like, you have to be, like Mike Tomlin, I'll never know, and I don't know if anybody in Pittsburgh will ever know how much of a stamp he had on some of the bad quarterbacks that played. But you know what Mike Tomlin never did? Never apologized for who his quarterback was. He never said, well, look what I had to deal with. He never did that. He coached him.
Exactly. And that was my whole thing going back to the opening segment when Bubba Ventrone got that Rams job. What soured me on him, it wasn't just the special teams and the lack of good play out of it. I understand that, yes, you don't have the very best roster in the NFL, so that means you don't have the best back end of the roster. You cannot say that in a press conference. When you say that in a press conference, you're telling me you're not going towards coaching. You have to continue to coach them up. And if they can't get there, they can't get there. You can try every way, but you have to continue to try to find ways and work with them because they are who you are. I don't care if it's youth football. I don't care if it's the NFL. It's still supposed to be that way. And running towards coaching is a Tomlinism, and he's one of the better ones of the generation, so I don't want to hear it. When I have a guy who's possibly going to be my head coach, Shielhaus, Monken, Schwartz, whoever it might be, what are you doing? Who are you going to bring in to help those guys? Say you were Jim Schwartz. Who are you bringing in to help these guys? Because you know it. This is the situation we're in. No matter what guys on the radio want to say, this is the spot we're in. And we may have to look forward to 2027 for that new quarterback. But you only have right now, right in front of you, what is your plan of action to help Shedeur Sanders, not your plan of action to help you on a podcast or to get clicks on SEO. What are you doing to help him? Same thing with Deshaun. No matter what I say, if I coach the Browns, I'd have to sit here and think of ways that I would work with Deshaun Watson, and the same thing with Dylan Gabriel. I'm glad they asked that question, and yes, I'm glad Shedeur Sanders is a part of it because I'm open-minded to just about everything. I'm still, as much as I've said what I've said about Deshaun Watson, I understand that we're stuck with him. So, yeah, maybe I'm going to be open-minded from week 6 on because I'd rather see Shedeur Sanders start the season. Coming up at 8:20, Daryl Ryder going to join us on the show. There's a name for D.C. you don't got to look for him that I would think would work out very well, at least for this year with the Cleveland Browns. And I think it might be a good ad if you can't get Jim Schwartz back. Will Jim Schwartz come back? I want to ask Daryl Ryder about that coming up at 8:20. And they'll sit on the bench all day long, just as long as the check clears. Some silly audio, I believe, from one of the all-time great moments in Cleveland sports. It's coming up in 5 minutes and About Last Night on the Fan. Window Nation and Window Nation.
he sucks. He's sucked his whole career.
I got rumors about him. How he couldn't please his wife, so now he's divorced.
Put a damn winning team on the field.
Now the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima give their thoughts on what you might have missed about last night.
So we got our Jose Ramirez introductory press, well, not introductory, but extension press conference yesterday from Chris Antonetti, from Dolan, from Jose Ramirez himself. By the way, did you watch the press conference? So I did. And the reason I asked is because poor Jose looked like he would rather be anywhere else, not because he doesn't love this city, but because it was, negative 15 degrees outside. And the look on his face probably, to me, said, why couldn't we have waited to do this at Goodyear where it was nice and warm? But
well, you got to do it here.
Yeah,
that's where the most of your media is.
I know.
Yeah.
I agree. But just I related to Jose very much in that moment when I saw the look on his face, and I was like, that man does not like the cold.
It's terrible. It's freezing ass cold outside.
Yeah,
it was
really
colder
is.
than it has been, and we're having school today. Let's have an argument.
Oh boy. Don't even want to get started on that one, Ken.
Why don't you send the email about it, and I will reply.
Reply all.
Yeah, reply all.
As the only person in the room without kids, I have lots of opinions. Just kidding. Anyway, so Chris Antonetti and
sounds like somebody we're going to be joining us at 8:20 this morning.
So they were asked questions about Jose Ramirez, but some of the questions that they were asked were about the roster in general and what they're planning on doing this upcoming season. And this is what they said in terms of offense. This is what Chris Antonetti said in how they want to build up the offense. I'm going to play this one first, and then there's another clip after this.
We need to be better offensively. We were not good enough last year offensively. And so our belief, though, is that we can get better and will get better through the players that are within the organization. The reality, we all know in the current Major League Baseball economic system, we are not in a position to compete for top free agents. So we have to think about alternate ways of building teams.
So wait a minute. He's saying about what is he mentioning again about here? Which one is this?
He's saying that they want to look in-house to boost their offense. Well, and that comment at the end where he said, we're not in the agent to land these top free agents.
Well, I think he's being honest about that. I felt that some people felt that there was some ridiculousness to some of the things that he was saying about the press conference, about playing time and everything like that.
We'll play that one next.
Okay,
we'll play that one next.
I was going to say I was confused because this one is that's honest. I don't think they have the wherewithal to go out and get. Well,
we're in the same boat. There's like 20 other teams. We're all in that same boat.
Yeah, well, I think there's probably 25 other teams that we're all kind of in that same boat. Now, I feel that we're in a much better position because we even get the chance to be disappointed in that, whereas I don't think that there's any hope in places like Cincinnati or certainly Pittsburgh. When you're already Jose Ramirez is here forever, and Jose Ramirez is a fine player that you go see every single day. When you're already talking about trading a generational pitcher 2 years into his career, what are we talking about here?
Paul Skeens isn't taking
broken sport.
He's not going to take a hometown discount.
And nor should he. That's not his hometown, but it's like that's a broken sport. Like Myles Garrett, again, when you took Myles Garrett number 1 overall, you weren't going to lose Myles Garrett ever if you didn't want to. And you're not going to lose Myles Garrett come hell or high water, sickness and health. He looks like he's going to be here forever. It's only your own silliness to lose guys. And in that sport, it is very, very difficult. But at the same time, that's why we find Jose Ramirez so beloved in our city, because he wants to stay here for less.
So then here's the other thing that Chris Antonetti said that got people in a little bit of an uproar, and his speaking about one of the reasons why they struggled to get free agents in Cleveland.
There were some players that we targeted that fit a very defined role on our team, but we weren't able to get them. It wasn't a financial reason. In fact, the players that we made offers to signed elsewhere for very comparable deals. It was more about playing time. Because we wanted to give those young players opportunities, the players we targeted felt that they could play more somewhere else.
Well, how many positions on this team, because I think this is important here, are kind of set, right? Quan,
left
Ramirez.
field and third base, yeah.
Okay, and then what happens when we start talking about, Manzardo and Kefis and DeLauder? Like, is that what we're really getting to, is he wants to provide a runway for those guys, and their development is going to be stymied. It's going to be halted immediately if we start bringing in the free agents that he says they were in the mix for and could pay.
That makes sense, because I thought I was going to have a very bad reaction to what was said there, because I was confused for a moment. Here we go.
And Bazana as well. We even mentioned Bazana.
I think a lot of people had a bad reaction to it. I thought I was going to have a bad reaction. But no, when I go back and it makes sense, you play the first clip, it's like, okay, they're not in the market for Cody Bellinger. They're not in the market for these guys. They're in the market for other players that did not make it on About Last Night and many other days during Hot Stove. So I understand where he's coming from there. It sucks, and it's something that needs to be addressed here next winter.
How many platoons?
Here you are.
I mean, we've been like the world record holder at platoons. How many platoons do you want to have? Because that's what we would be talking about. Unless you're saying if we brought in those free agents, we're just holding these other guys off for a year. And that just doesn't really make a lot of financial sense for where they are anyway, whether we're talking about Blitzer's money or not. Thought it was interesting. Zach Meisel had it in his column with The Athletic that Blitzer was in town like a week ago and is definitely, because I remember I asked those questions at the end of last year with the Guardians and their TV deal, and are they going to become a declining asset with the work stoppage and everything? What's the state of affairs with Blitzer? Well, they've been talking, and obviously with the deferred stuff with Jose Ramirez, we're back prominently talking about an exchange here down the road, which I thought was newsworthy.
Well, and I think the other question with these young guys that pops up with me is that if these free agents that they were trying to get were concerned about playing time, and what you laid out is it's a pretty positive future for the Guardians. So then you have to look at it and then wonder when that World Series window is truly going to open up, because
probably in the Browns' third window, then the Guardians next.
Because because one of the biggest issues with the Guardians that has always kind of gotten them in the postseason is just inexperience. Inexperience has been one of the things. I mean, there's been a few things.
Let me ask you.
Inexperience has been an issue with this team when they do make it beyond wild card in the playoffs.
Well, when do you think, let me ask you, when do you guys think with the youth that you have and they get into the beginning of their prime, when do you think the quote-unquote World Series window is? Because then there'd be people going, well, just 2 years ago you were in the LCS, so what are we in right now? Okay, I understand that we overachieved. So I want to know, is it 2 years, is it 3 years? So Jose would be 35 right then. If he wasn't such a beloved figure, quietly, would they had extended Jose Ramirez? I mean, is he going to be the type of power hitter that you need him to be when he gets older? Maybe. I mean, he did have 30 home runs last year. So if he's going to continue to be 25 to 35 home runs a year, eventually the wheels have to start to get a little shaky and he has to get a little bit slower. But you're going to have to, this is what puts so much pressure on some of the young guys there, the Kafuses, and exactly what you had just said. Because eventually you're going to find yourself in a spot where, okay, we just got done talking about LeBron. LeBron has to get in a passenger seat for Luka Doncic. Eventually, Jose's going to have to get into a passenger seat for somebody else. Who's going to be that somebody else? And can we strike while the iron's hot and we're not just sitting here going, well, he's going to be leaving us here in a few years like they do in Pittsburgh?
Stephen Kwan is also the other question, too, because if they're not going to extend him, then suddenly you have a big hole that you have to fill at the top of your lineup and at left field.
I don't know what the hell to pay Stephen Kwan or if to pay Stephen Kwan.
We went through this last year.
Where to trade him and when to trade him. That was a wild conversation.
15 different shows were devoted to what kind of money we're really talking about his value.
In the middle of May, it was give him $30 million a year. I don't give a damn. Then it was 20, and then it was I don't even want to pay him at all. To hell with him. It was crazy.
All right, so somebody's lying about John Gruden, and it's either John Gruden or it's somebody else. So there was a report in The Athletic that the Jets had reached out to Gruden about joining Aaron Glenn's staff with the Jets, and Gruden was uninterested. And we know that, John Gruden has made comments before about wanting to get a shot at coaching again. He said that back in July when he was visiting Detroit for the Lions training camp. But Gruden himself told WDAE yesterday that the reports are not true. He said, quote, there's a lot of reports. We're not going to get into that. There's a lot of stupid rumors out there. Some of these reports are ridiculous. Let's just say there was never anything from the Jets. I wish them well in their search for a new offensive coordinator. So either The Athletic is lying, not lying, or they got bad information about the Jets reaching out to John Gruden, or John Gruden is lying about the Jets reaching out to him. I'll tell you what,
I wish with this Arizona job, do we know who's getting the Arizona job?
I don't think anything's official yet.
Nothing's official yet. I just wish Arizona would have either hired Bill Belichick or John Gruden. just for the
Or both?
entertainment
Both of
perspective. Yeah, both of them, whatever.
Co-head coaches?
Whatever. In Josina's world, that might work. I think that would have been awesome. I think, like, when Urban Meyer got hired in
Offense
Jacksonville,
guy and defense guy.
I was at the very least excited for fun press conferences, and he gave them. Like, it's a forgettable time, but, like, he was interesting, especially when they were losing.
He was on that wrestling pay-per-view, too.
And he was on the pay-per-view. So I wish we would get something like that. And it feels like Arizona would be the perfect spot to have somebody in retirement mode also coach a football team.
I don't think that any of these NFL places is a place that he's going to go with everything that's gone on and is still going on. He's 62. I can't believe he's 62. Gosh, he still looks young. I think his next spot, if he's going to be a head coach again, I think his next spot's in college. I think it's in but I also think it's in the group of 5. I think it's in like the MAC or something like that. I don't think it's in the NFL. I don't. I think that a lot of that stuff you have to answer to, and it might take a crazy AD out there and a maverick to go, you know what? We got to get our football program started. We got to sell some tickets. Let's bring this guy in. I think he'll coach again. I just don't think it's going to be at the level a lot of people think it's going to be.
And that's it for About Last Night.
Outstanding. Daryl Ryder going to join us at 8:20. I want to throw a name by Daryl where if Jim Schwartz ain't going to bring his boxes back and unpack them and put everything back up on the shelves in his office, I want to throw a name by Daryl of who could be the defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns, and a couple of other things coming up here in 5 minutes. I think we're closer to our rivals than we think, and I'm going to explain that coming up at 8:01. And 60 is the new 40 when it comes to football coaches. K&K Heating and Cooling.
Your decisions have led you here. Now your decisions should lead to where this works out. Show me some leadership.
Yeah.
All these guys have talked about it's not dysfunctional. Show me. So we want to talk about Todd Monken. I will defend the hire to some level because the other three coaches were just as blah as Todd Monken was.
The Afternoon Drive. Weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
60's the new 40 when it comes to coaches. Go right on ahead. Kenny, hold on. We got a Connie. 92.3 The Fan looking for a winner.
Stop
Enter the code word.
Stop encouraging him to do that. That's dumber than what Emmanuel Acho was saying.
Enter the code word.
Stop it.
Rowdy. ROWDY at 92.3 The Fan.
AK Rowdies.
At 923thefan.com.
I remember him well.
Before 9 a.m., your chance to win a pair of tickets to Stavros Halkias, the Dreamboat Tour, MGM Northfield Park, February 14th at 7 p.m., 21 older venue. Get tickets at livenation.com. It's all from Live Nation and Sports Radio 923 Fan.
Dangerous. Daryl Ryder joins us at 8:20 this morning. Jeremy Fowler going to join us at 9. And yes, coming in hot, 9:45. Please keep your comments within the boundaries of good taste. 60 is the new 40 when it comes to coaches. Big Word Wilson is back to work. You want to play this audio?
Sure.
Away we go.
It's kind of where the Browns did zag on this one. Jeff Hafley's relatively young, within NFL parlance. I think he's under 45. Joe Brady, I don't even know Joe Brady's 40 yet. You look at all these coaches. How many of them hired a 59-year-old?
McCarthy.
Yeah, that's a little different because he's at least been a coach. I do feel like if you're hiring an offensive head coach.
I heard Baskin got pissed about the age thing earlier today. Yeah, he went off. He's like, why do we have to bring up the age every time?
Ooh.
And I think it's because.
I don't think it's about the coaches.
Well, I think it's because he's 58.
Yeah.
And the coach is 59, and everyone refers to him as an old coach. And that might be hitting. Reality might be hitting for Andy.
I think Andy's in the prime of his life. He's still got a joie de vivre. I don't even know what that means, but he's still got it.
Maximum protection against Odysseus, Odoriferously, Ophlacti emanations.
I think Andy's in the prime of his life. He's still got a joie de vivre. I don't even know what that means, but he's still got it.
It's odiously, odiferous, olfactory emanations.
Joie de vivre.
Odoriferous, olfactory marination. Odoriferous, olfactinal nominations. Odoriferous, olfactigil emancipations.
Joie de vivre.
Upside down.
Upside down.
Who's the Damon Wayans character from A Living Color?
What is that?
Used to use the big words.
What is? You said it.
Joie de vivre.
You said it to me last night. I go, I don't even know how to Google that word.
Well, I assumed Nick must have taken French, right?
There's no way he had to.
There's no way that rolls off the tongue for somebody that didn't sit in a French class.
I think Andy's in the prime of his life. He's still got a joie de vivre. I don't even know what that means, but he's still got it.
I think he used it right because after a half hour trying to find this on Google.
I didn't know what letter it even started with. You guys go, what does it start with? I go, S? What is it?
Joie de vivre.
How's it spelled?
We could play Hangman right now.
Tell everybody. You got to tell people what it means. It took Lima a half an hour. We had nothing about coaches. It was all figuring out joie de vivre.
Joie de vivre.
And I'm going to use it now every day from here on out. JOIE space DE space VIVRE. Joie de vivre. Could you use it in a sentence?
It starts with what letter again?
J.
Joie de vivre.
Turns out it says it is a French phrase often used in English to express a cheerful enjoyment of life, an exaltation of spirit, and general happiness.
I think Andy's in the prime of his life. He's still got a joie de vivre. I don't even know what that means, but he's still got it.
I never heard that word in my life. I mean, I'm just like, listen, now Nick is well read. There's no doubt about it. And apparently he's used this word correctly. This
I think so.
Is it a word or a phrase?
It's a phrase.
Joie de vivre.
He's used the phrase correctly. I'm just a simple man from Canton. I remember often I would go into a place like Falcone's on Tusk in Canton and look at a guy who looks like Lawrence from Office Space and say, how's your joie de vivre today?
Joie de vivre?
What the hell?
Maximum protection against Odysseus, Adorphously, Flacti emanations.
Big Word Wilson, man. He's at it again, brother. What are you thinking?
That one stopped me in my tracks. So I was excited to figure out what it was.
Joie de vivre?
Mine was taking out the garbage and just stopped right there on the road.
Joie de vivre?
He is right, though. 60 is the new 40 when it comes to coaches. And Baskin does, I got to tell you, Nick is right. I wouldn't be playing this and ripping Nick if I didn't agree with him and I wasn't having fun. I'm not ripping him. We're having fun. Baskin does not look 58. Does anybody look older than what they are? Does Kevin look old? Like, somebody made the joke, and I loved it. Somebody said that Kevin's beard is going to start going back to brunette in Atlanta because it's gone gray. he looks like Bill Clinton at the end of the presidency. Like, it's bad. And I'm like, does anybody look like you remember what 40 used to look like?
Yeah,
40 was haggard when we were kids. Smoking had a lot to do with it, obviously, but
right. Who is somebody when you look at him and you go, oh, geez. I actually thought it went the other way.
I can't think of it. Like, Abe Vigoda was always like 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
And now he's actually passed on several years ago. Everybody is just younger. It's got to be the preservatives in the food, but I don't want to put on a tinfoil hat here. Listen, I'm sorry. There has to be something to it. How do we all look younger? Like, do I look 39?
Yes.
No, I don't. You stop it now.
Yeah, but did
Baskin
you think
doesn't look 58?
Like, Udinski, I know Udinski had a full head of hair, but I actually thought he looked older than 30. He didn't look to me like to be some kid. Like, he looked like he looked 30.
No, I thought he looked 30.
To me looked like he had a little more command.
No, I thought he looked 30. I thought he looked like a pup.
But no, see, I actually thought Shieldhouse looked younger than him. If they were standing next to each other because of the baby
that's true,
face.
but I thought he was a pup too. I thought they both looked like pups. Now, Todd Monken, hey, the hair's a little bit crazy. I like his hair a little longer and great. Like, he looked like a villain in the 2019 video of him talking to David Njoku. He looked like he'd be in like a Die Hard movie. But like this, I'm like, oh, okay, he looks like an affable guy. Looks like fun. Not like Freddie fun, but knows what he's doing and fun. But yeah, I mean, 60 years old. I was shocked. I was shocked that John Gruden was 62. I was shocked that John Harbaugh was 64. But speaking of some of the older coaches, Daryl's going to join us at 8:20. Can I make a comparison at all to us and our hated rival? Because before it's like, Kenny, stop trying to make a comparison. We're not comparable. You know, they had a guy. People wanted to be excited. They brought in Mike McCarthy. And I wrote this earlier in the week, and I mentioned it. I go, I can't say anything. I make fun of mashed potatoes and all the other stuff. I can't say he's a bad coach. Now, he's obviously accomplished more as a head coach in the NFL than what Todd Monken has. That's clear. But I looked at it and go, yeah, everybody's mad over there in Pittsburgh because they thought they were going to get like a Chris Shula, young guy, more exciting. Shieldhouse was brought up, young offensive coordinator, that type of thing. And they went and they got a 60-something-year-old, I think he's 62, Mike McCarthy. And the picture of him and Andy Rooney. Art Rooney. The picture of him and
on
Art
60
Rooney.
Minutes, I remember that
the
one.
The picture that they either look like funeral directors or you and me at a later show. But they just wanted to go with something that's like, hey, I got to tell you, I don't think that the coaching pool, like, we're all upset. Coaching pool wasn't that great. There was no Ben Johnson here. And I know that's something we said 3 weeks ago. There's no Ben Johnson here. There's no this, that, the other. But there's no wonderkins who you just want to rush out and he has the pick of the litter here. And the Browns are the same way. It's like, hey, we're just going to go with, we got to go with an offensive mind. The league's offensive. We'll get the defensive guy. We're just going to go with somebody who's safe. And the Steelers, because they have been proven, they've had 3 coaches in 60 years, that they've been proven to have a long-standing, more stable organization. They were able to get the more stable pick. A guy who's been a head coach twice over in the NFL, has been successful as a head coach. As much as I want to make fun of him, I can't say he's a bad coach. He isn't. And with Todd Monken, no, he's not a head coach, but it's like, no, he's stable. He'll be organized. He's been successful with offense in the past, and he's an older, more mature football coach that's going to keep things stable.
Like, I think that's how both franchises were kind of looking at it.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever going to be a point where Todd Monken goes, oh, my God, how am I going to deal with this situation? I think Freddie Kitchens walked into some situations and was like, uh-oh, I better start making phone calls.
Yes.
Like, I don't think Todd needs to make those phone calls.
And I'll take it a step further because you brought it up with me yesterday. You do not disagree with me. I do believe wholeheartedly, and if they want to make a big deal of it and press conferences down there or whatever, I believe wholeheartedly this wasn't a you suck, we're losing, get out of here firing to Kevin Stefanski. I think it was more of a separation. Mike Tomlin, I asked Chris Mack. I was on the Westwood One show. Chris Mack's out there in Pittsburgh. I asked him, I go, if Tomlin wanted to come back next year, would he be back next year? He goes, absolutely. I go, okay. So they had a separation. The Steelers had a separation from their head coach that they liked. We had a separation from our head coach that we liked. Talking about organizations, right? Both got what? 60-year-old offensive guys. Guys that are predictable in so many ways of how they're going to run an organization. Okay? They just wanted stability. Because there's no, if you were to go to Shieldhouse, yeah, there was a lot of people who are excited about Shieldhouse saying he's going to be a head coach when? 2-3 years from now. And you and I know for a fact there were people around Nate Shieldhouse going, you don't need to take that job. You'll be a head coach at some point. Grant Udinski, he'll be a good head coach when? 3-4 years from now. And there were people around him going, you don't need to take that job. So the Steelers, yeah, they're a more stable organization. That's where we are different, okay? But they, 60-year-old guy, offensive guy, let's just keep things stable. Browns, not the greatest organization when it comes to stability, obviously. 60-year-old guy, let's just try to stabilize it and keep things organizationally correct as best we can. I think that the organizations neither have a quarterback that they are going to set their watch to for the future. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. I know that they're trying to talk him back into it now. But both organizations are not really sure about the quarterback position, which is the most important. And I think they're just trying to figure it out and just trying to remain stable until they figure out their next move. This is as close to the Browns and Steelers being with each other as far as being the same organization as I think I've ever seen in my life.
Well, do you think
let alone career?
Because it was interesting during the search, and I know we got to go, but it was the two young guys. It was almost like our quarterback situation going into the year. But it was the two young guys in Shieldhouse and Jacksonville.
Grant Udinski.
And then on the other side, it was Schwartz and Monken. This is the two 59-year-old guys.
Yes.
And that makes you wonder. Like, Andrew Berry never wanted to do the exact same thing as the Pittsburgh Steelers in this case. Never struck me as that.
216-474-0092. 845. I know we've always played too much Monken, not enough Monken in the past. Coming up at 845, after you hear this, you are going to demand more Monken. Up next, I got a name to throw by Darryl Ryder. If we can't have Jim Schwartz, I do have an idea for a replacement. It's coming up at 821 on The Fan.
grown during the offseason by following the Browns playlist and 92.3 The Fan on the Odyssey app. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
We might have to bust for a minute. Maybe he's rubbing some aloe on those hickeys.
Oh, Daryl.
Daryl has not checked in with us yet. We were supposed to have Daryl coming up here momentarily. Well, until we get Daryl, let me. Can I share a name with you?
I saw some people ripping on the hickey conversation because they thought it was unbecoming of somebody his age to be getting hickeys, and I'm just like, that sounds like jealousy. Because why do you think? Why do you think somebody gives one of those?
Why gives one?
Why do you think that is associated with, younger high school years, maybe even college years?
Well, it's young love.
Right. Well, how many of you wouldn't die to have young love? Where is the romanticism in your life?
Listen to you, Henry David Thoreau. What's going on over there?
I'm just saying, to me, we're talking about the throes of passion. Yeah. Like, is that happening in your life?
You're getting me hot
The people
here.
that are being critical of the thought of Daryl Ryder with a hickey?
I don't care how long you've been married. You got to keep things spicy. But not a lot of people try to keep things spicy.
And a little naughty.
Little naughty and risque, huh? Yeah. That was the fun part of being in high school and in college was the hickeys, man. So if Daryl's got a few of them, and
if his hickeys give him a little joie de vivre,
joie de vivre.
Well, how old is the woman he's with?
You know what? I have no idea.
Can I ask how old does a woman?
I'd assume 18 to question mark.
It's 8:30. How old does a woman? At what age does a woman go? We're not doing that anymore. At what age? Well, people are going to talk. If you're in your 40s and you show up to a thing and you show up with hickeys, people are going to talk. Speaking of hickeys, hello, Daryl Ryder. Who's Daryl Ryder brought to us by there, Owen?
Shiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Were you treating your hickeys, Daryl?
No, I was not.
Okay. Well, it would be rather sexy if you did.
I don't know why you guys are on that topic, but...
Well, we were waiting on you, Daryl.
Well, I'm off today, so...
Whoa! Doing us a favor. Okay, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. All right. You're doing us a favor. Thank you very much, Dangerous Daryl. I did not know you were off today, so I apologize. All right, let me throw a name by you here, okay? You ready?
Yeah.
Well, first off, do you think we're getting Jim Schwartz back?
Probably not.
Okay. I don't think so either. And, some people disagreed with me because I'm like, yeah, I really don't know if I'd take him back. And the reason is because if anybody knows how upsetting a disgruntled coordinator could be, it's Todd Monken.
Yeah.
So you kind of want everybody as close to on the same page as you can. So maybe it's just best if we make a break and we can get a late round draft pick. Fine. A lot of defensive coordinator names are thrown out there, and this wouldn't be the biggest one, but somebody tweeted at me yesterday and they go, you know what? I love it, and I wish I want to give credit to that person, so I'm going to go look in here after I ask you. What about bumping up Jason Tarver? He's been the defensive coordinator before the Oakland Raiders for a few years. He was a defensive coordinator before even in college. I know that the defensive players really, really, really like and respect Jason Tarver. Obviously, I think media likes and respects Jason Tarver. Do you think that Todd Monken could give him a whirl?
Yeah, potentially. I was thinking maybe looking at Ephraim Bandit, too.
Okay.
Who also, I believe, had one or two defensive coordinator interviews this cycle. He's thought to be an up-and-comer rising star as well. So, yeah, I think either one of those guys are certainly worth taking a look. Tarver's been in the league a while, similar to Monken, right? 21 years, something like that. So he's been around a long time in the NFL. So it is going to be interesting to see how Monken fills out the coordinator staff. And, of course, that's part of the interview process, too, is laying out a vision for the coaching staff. Now, obviously, the Browns, I think, went into this particular hire thinking that Jim Schwartz was going to stay defensively, and a lot of that defensive staff was going to stay in place. And based on how Schwartz reacted, which was very negatively to not getting the job and whatnot, most likely he will be moving on, and I would anticipate a large chunk of that staff will move on as well. But Monken's been around a while. He knows a lot of people around the NFL. His Rolodex certainly is a lot deeper than a guy like Nate Scheelhaase. So I don't think he's going to have too much problem filling out the coaching staff. It might take him a little time to do it. There are 10 openings around the NFL. Let's not forget that. This went from hey, this might not be the offseason to replace your head coach to, well, a third of the NFL decided to replace their head coaches.
Chris Schleich was the guy on social media who asked me that question. Credit where it's due. I was like, that's a hell of a question. Go right on ahead, Tone.
All right, Daryl, yesterday or over the last few days, you had said, Daryl, that you thought this would be about a 2-year experiment. Have you changed your mind, Daryl, at all?
Absolutely not. I don't think this is a long-term hire. I really don't. I almost feel like this is it's not fair to say it's similar to the Freddie Kitchens hire.
Oh boy, that's that would actually probably be insulting considering their history to Todd Monken.
Yeah, I think that the exposure for guys like Nate Scheelhaase and Grant Uditsky, when you talk about a long-term hire, I don't feel like this was a long-term hire. I feel like this was, we got to pick somebody. It's been 24 days, and Todd Monken was the guy that everybody could agree on, and so they make the hire. I think that he's going to have to win and perform. I don't feel like that there's going to be much of an appetite, and quite frankly, there shouldn't be, because you didn't have it for Kevin Stefanski. I don't think that there's going to be much of an appetite for much of a retool here or a rebuild, even though that's exactly what they're going to have to do on the offensive side of the ball.
All right, Daryl. Now, yesterday we saw the news that the Kingmaker over there with the Rams decided to take on our special teams coach to overhaul their special teams, which cost him a chance at the Super Bowl. Daryl, were we wrong about Bubba Ventrone? Do we have to alter our opinion now that Sean McVay has decided he wants him?
It's almost as if nobody really pays attention to the Browns, and they just don't use anything bad that happens here against anybody. It's a fascinating case study as to why that is. Because the Rams themselves, they fired their special teams coordinator in the middle of the season, if I remember correctly. I mean, it was a disaster. They were having a similar situation that the Browns were having, and that was they weren't able to catch punts. So I don't know what they're doing, but I listen. Bubba Ventrone, very highly respected around the league, no question about that. It's part of the Browns couldn't get him to Cleveland fast enough when they kind of got wind that he was going to become available. It's unfortunate that for 2 of the 3 years, Brown special teams were just an absolute catastrophe and disaster under him, including this past season. They couldn't block. They couldn't create any returns. They were giving up returns left and right. They were getting kicks blocked left and right. They were getting punts blocked left and right. So I whatever. I think he kind of did the Browns a little bit of a favor, but it just didn't work out with Bubba Ventrone here.
I think he did us a favor there. I'm not a big. I didn't like how he kind of threw the roster under the bus, and I said that twice already.
Front office under the bus. That's not leadership.
Well, yeah, but you know what? Like, you can go ahead and say what you want to about, like, if he were upset with the trade. Like, say he was upset about Joe Flacco. Go right on ahead. Like, you could. I think there is a difference. But when you're sitting there basically saying that they don't give me the ingredients to coach, that is, I'm sorry, that's your job. And if you can't get them to point B, then maybe you don't have the right players. I can understand that, but leak that to the media. Obviously, you've leaked other things to the media about how great you are. That's why people are talking about how you're one of the best ones out there. So I think you could leak that to the media and say there has to be some understanding with what he's working with, but that's not your job to say it. That really rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, well, especially behind a microphone, right?
Yeah.
And it rubbed me the wrong way too. And by the way, a lot of defensive players played special teams, and last time I checked, defense was pretty good. They got some pretty good players on that side of the ball. So what's your problem? And I know fans got really sick and tired to listen to Kevin Stefanski say, I've got to coach better. But quite honestly, that was the correct response from Bubba. Hey, I got to do a better job with the guys I'm given to work with here. I know we're young, but we can be better. We need to be better, and it's my job to make them better. That's what you say, whether you actually truly believe that or not. And Bubba was completely unwilling to do that at the end of the season. And again, it was another sign that this thing had fallen apart, and Kevin Stefanski clearly was not going to be back because, let's be honest about it, Ken, you know Coach Stefanski as well as I do. That would be a message that Kevin would deliver to all his folks to make sure that everybody stayed in line, and we didn't have that toward the end of the season. And again, that was kind of telegraphed ultimately what ended up happening there on January 5th.
All right, Daryl, we found out that one of the questions each candidate was faced with in their essay or interview process was about Shedeur Sanders. How big of a factor do you think Shedeur is and was in this process and for Todd Monken going forward?
Well, one of the questions should have been about Shedeur Sanders. There probably should have been a question about Deshaun Watson as well. And how they not so much feel about the situation, but what their take on the situation is, what their strategy would be for him coming off the ruptured Achilles. Obviously, he did it twice in a couple months, but I understand why that's a story because it's Shedeur Sanders, but I would expect nothing less from the Browns in their interview process to want to know how Shedeur Sanders' rookie season of 7.5 games, 1,400 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, a rating of around 68, a QBR that I think was south of 20. I want to know how they feel about it. Now, I do believe the hire of Todd Monken, just looking at his history and some of the quarterbacks he's worked with, I'd say that this is good news for Shedeur Sanders because I think that Shedeur has some of those natural gifts and skill sets that Monken can work with. Now, obviously, Shedeur's got to prove that he can do this thing, and I know a lot of folks are going to point to, hey, he was a Pro Bowler. He got named an alternate. He was also, I think, the 14th quarterback standing in the AFC, but that is on the resume now that he got to participate in the Pro Bowl games this upcoming week here. But that's not a surprise. He should have been on that fact-finding mission to get feedback on him. And again, I do feel like Monken could be good for Shedeur Sanders.
Meredith put in the chat that hickeys are how women mark their territory. Married women don't need to do it. You're supposed to wear your ring. So that's a great point by Meredith Kane. Daryl Ryder joining us here. Daryl is brought to you by Anthony
Scheibe Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Thank you very much. Now, Daryl, when it comes to the quarterbacks, Lima's clearly just going to make me ask you the question. So, Kirk Cousins, yes or no?
Whoa!
I'm willing to look at it.
Whoa, Daryl!
They got to have a veteran, got to have a veteran plan here, right?
Your veteran plan is Deshaun Watson.
Well, I don't know that I like that veteran plan.
Well, that's the plan you get.
Beggars can't be choosers,
There's a lot of us that
Daryl.
don't like a lot of things that the Browns have, but here we are.
I know, and look, I think the fiscally responsible thing to do here is to look and see legitimately if there's something Deshaun can give you here in the final year of his contract on the field. That being said, I would probably also prefer that they have another veteran option in case they ultimately decide, hey, Shedeur really is a developmental quarterback, and we don't want to put him out there for 17 games. But I've said this. I maintain it. I would like to see Shedeur Sanders get an honest crack at this thing this offseason, and he's got to earn the job. I'm not saying hand the job to him, but I want him to have a better chance at it than what he had last year. They called it a 4-man quarterback competition, and the kid was throwing to ball boys during training camp because they ran out of wide receivers. And to me, that's not giving that kid a legitimate chance at the quarterback competition, which, by the way, I feel was by design. I don't think that they wanted to play Shedeur Sanders. At least Kevin Stefanski didn't want to play him. But Jimmy Haslam made it very clear in training camp, part of the goal of last season was to see both rookie quarterbacks on the field. So in that regard, mission accomplished.
Go ahead, ask him.
All right, Daryl, yesterday we heard from Chris Antonetti with the Jose Ramirez press conference. What did you make of the fact he says free agents weren't coming here even if we were going to outbid other teams because of playing time?
Yeah, the playing time thing was interesting. There I think is something real to that, but also at the same time they are really committed to growing the younger players that they have coming up from the minors. That was a heavy talking point yesterday during that 35-minute press conference from Antonetti. So they're all obviously a ball club on a budget. Also interesting, folks that think that the deferred money is a savings for them right now. It's not. I actually didn't realize this, but this is similar to the NFL. Guaranteed money has to go in an escrow in the NFL. Same thing with Major League Baseball. As the contract accrues and that deferred money accrues, they have to fund it. It might not go directly to Jose Ramirez at that given moment, but they have to fund that portion of the contract. So actually there is no savings, even though there's deferred money, and I think that was a misnomer that a lot of fans had. But, yeah, they clearly want to go young this year. Jose Ramirez is going to be the centerpiece of teaching those young kids what they need to do at this level to be successful. They were young relatively last season as well. They need to be better offensively. Antonetti admitted that. I don't know that just standing pat is the way to get better, but we're going to find out this summer if, in fact, that's going to work. But he also said, guys, that they do have the flexibility to go to make a move during the season to go get somebody to help them out, and I think that that's an important detail folks are missing as well.
Daryl, someday you'll need a favor from me, and use this day as the reason why I have to help you in that favor. Thank you for joining us. We had no idea you were off today. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You bet, guys. Have a great weekend.
The dangerous one, Daryl Ryder. Now, who's he brought to you by, gentlemen?
You want to say it at the same time, or?
Go ahead.
Okay. It's Scheiben Jewelers. It's Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Coming up at 9 o'clock, Jeremy Fowler going to join us from ESPN. One thing from what Daryl said there, and after you hear this, you will demand more Monken. That's at 8:43 on the Fan.
Anthony Lima 4.
paid time off, healthcare, and great pay. Join a team that respects your time, values your skills, and lets you be home with your family. Apply today at callplumbingtech.com.
The exit ramp to Columbia from 90 West is closed due to a crash. Accidents on Route 10.
Browns beat reporter Darryl Ryder has the very latest at 923thefan.com and the Odyssey app.
The Eagle has landed. This was a plate you could actually track.
Yeah.
He should have rode it in on a horse. He should have been pulled by a team of white stallions. Todd Monken is here. Whereas, of course, there's some literal Larrys out there. He's wearing a suit jacket.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, gosh, a light jacket in this weather? Tough guy, Todd Monken.
Yeah, not only that, you got JW is the first to greet him. And then Andrew Berry comes on in. Very different.
You mean something by that? Is that what you're trying to do?
No. What I'm saying is very different from the video. Was it the Green Bay win last year? Which was the win where Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, you would have thought they were brothers. When they
had like
met
a
up
secret,
and
it looked like they had a secret
shake.
handshake.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they'll have a handshake after the Browns-Falcons game this year.
Yep. Oh, whoa.
The game I hope the Browns win.
That would be
nice. Andrew did say his children were very concerned with where Kevin was going next. So
that's right.
But tough guy Todd wearing a light jacket in this weather.
He's ready to go to work. Look at him.
He's probably going to Northfield Park after this.
I love horse racing. I'm bummed. I'm as bummed about losing this job as the Preakness perks I got. Now I don't know what I'm going to have to pay full price now. It's bullshit.
That was Todd Monken. This is after he got fired by the Ravens on the Ryan Ripken show.
Yes.
That's a hell of a lot different from the guy we used to have. Lord almighty. What else you got over there?
Well, it wasn't just about horse racing. It was about play calling, too, and his choices and the questioning of his play calling.
All right, here's Todd. Here's more Todd Monken. Go ahead.
Ooh, the players are frustrated with the play calling. Well, no, my wife is. I mean, I don't even understand it. Like they act like it's something or this skill player wants the ball more. Well, no, they want to run the ball more. Well, no, okay, you're running it more. We're too conservative. It's play to play, drive to drive. It's, hey, he's in his bag. The next one, he's too trick dicky. I mean, it is what it is.
Did we just hire offensive Greg Williams and we don't even know?
Yeah, he sounds just like Greg Williams. It's amazing to me. Although his voice, I'm worried about his voice already. If he's losing his voice like that in the offseason.
He did take some ownership. Remember, they played the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. They actually hosted the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
He took some ownership in that.
You can't get all the credit when we do well and just exonerate yourself from the blame when it doesn't go that way. You know what? I didn't coach Lamar well enough. I didn't have as good a relationship as I could have. I didn't do the things that we needed this year to win enough games to give ourselves a chance. And I believe that. I'm not just saying that because I'm on your show, and I'm going to fight like hell to fix it. I'm going to fight like hell for the next job I get, and I'm going to root like hell for the Ravens. And I'll always remember the Chiefs game. I wish I would have called it better. Wish I would have had a better plan. Wish I would have trusted the run game better. Wish I would have put us in a better position. I'll be 60, and it'll be a part of things that I've had to, I was at Oklahoma State and we lost at Iowa State and didn't get a chance in 2011 to play for a national championship. I remember it to this day. We turned it over 4 times and I didn't get it done. And I'll always remember the Chiefs game, and that will be one that, that I'll have to live with forever because you only get so many opportunities. And when you feel directly a part of why we didn't get it done, that stings. But I don't let it haunt me. I just won't ever forget it.
Matt wasn't there yet, so I actually do feel bad for Todd on that one. All right, did hearing that make you feel any better?
That's exactly who I knew him to be. I mean, he's somebody who is not going to ever be as guarded as the corporate speak that you've heard the last 6 years. So you wonder, what was Andrew Berry thinking during the interview process when you have this guy being this? He's being forthcoming. He's telling you exactly how he feels.
I think to a lot of fans, it sounds like it's more the same. It doesn't sound now, but it felt like it was more the same when they hired him. And they didn't like the process.
Yeah, nobody was saying he was a bad coach. This does feel he's an offensive guy, yes, but that is different. That is different from Kevin. Now, you and I have talked to Kevin several times off the air, and there's a couple of words here and there, but he is definitely fluent in the language that I listen to and that you listen to and that we would speak. Cussing. Yes.
Well, I just think people got to remember this was also January 8th. This was after he had been let go in Baltimore. I don't think even Harbaugh was gone yet, or he might have just been out there in Baltimore. And, this was not on a podium since in Ryan Ripken's, he was on Zoom. So
it's Cal's son.
Yeah. So he's setting
in his,
Monken's in his office or what, his home office. Yeah. So it's a much different feel than when you get out there on the podium and you are now the head coach of the football team and you're wearing the polo or the hoodie or whatever of that team.
He's not going to be out there like George Carlin, I imagine. But also, maybe there's going to be a little bit more.
We got a lot of that from Schwartz, too. We got a lot of candidness from Schwartz.
Young coaches early in their career,
they're very tight.
Do not sound like this because they don't want anything to come back and cost them a shot. They have come up well learned in the social media world of don't say anything to get you in trouble. Don't align with anybody or anything that might cost you down the road.
But it is
Talk
also
sports, keep it sports. I've looked at Todd Monken's old tweets. He had talked some politics before. He doesn't care. He
coming
just
in
does
hot
not
at
care.
9:45. Maybe Todd Monken can call in during coming in hot at 9:45.
Be a welcome addition.
I'd have to ask him to keep his comments within the boundaries of good taste. Jeremy Fowler going to join us at 9. We'll have to pay attention to this because I think this season will be a little bit tough. And because let's call it what it is. Your quarterback situation, if you don't think the season's going to go well because of the quarterback situation, if you don't think the season's going to go well because of the roster situation, then you have to look at everything that's involved here. He'll be 60 years old next week, all right? I understand he got a 5-year deal. That don't mean anything to me. I almost said something I'd have to dump. That means nothing to me. The 5 years part of it, they paid other guys to go away with several years left on their contract. That doesn't matter. I want to hear what he sounds like in press conferences in November and December. If he starts, because they all do it, they as affable as some of them are, they all get into it where this is the same answer I'm going to answer with every question because I'm just trying to get through the press conference. Because they don't have any answers. Because they know, Kevin wasn't going to throw his players under the bus. It just was never going to happen. Hell or high water. As much as fans wanted him to at times. He wasn't going to throw Andrew Berry under the bus as much as I wanted him to at times, just because it's like, how can you stand back here and do this? Like most of us, we get our opinions off our chest at every single turn. Kevin wasn't going to do that. If he goes into protectionist mode, it'll be one of the things we pay attention to because he's a new head coach and the honeymoon period begins now. Really, it does. But that honeymoon's going to be over very, very quickly because he's not 30 years old or 35 years old. This could be very well, I think this will be his last job in the NFL. If he goes 5, 10 years, whatever, obviously I think that this is probably his last job in the NFL. But you already know, Daryl says it could be 2 years and done. A lot of people are thinking shorter than the 5 years right now. Bridge head coach is a term that's being thrown around. It will feel like the walls are closing in. And the conversation about his job, it seems crazy to bring it up today, and it obviously is early. But you guys know just as well as I do. I ain't breaking nothing here. You will talk about his job if they are 4 games under 500 going into November. Because then we'll go, all right, who are the quarterbacks? Are we in a position to take one of the quarterbacks out there? Do we trust young QB with him? It's the playbook that we've seen play out a million times over because it's only natural. Jeremy Fowler. Could Jim Schwartz come back? And if not, who? Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, Jeremy Fowler, ESPN 901 on the Fan.
It's Anthony Lima for Fanatic Sportsbook.
Want to catch highlights from The Fan from earlier today? Go to 923thefan.com or favorite 923 The Fan on the Odyssey app for all today's headline segments. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 923 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
There's only one place to hear breaking Browns news. This is the radio home of the Cleveland Browns, 92.3 The Fan.
Win a pair of tickets to the 26th Greater Cleveland Sports Awards Rocket Arena Thursday, February 5th. Get tickets at clevelandsportsawards.com. Enter the word athlete, ATHLETE, by the end of the hour at 923thefan.com to get registered to win a marvelous event. And who knows? Could our brand new head coach, who is in town as we speak, he's in the building, he's hobnobbing, he's kissing babies, shaking hands. Todd Monken is here, will he be, at the Greater Cleveland Sports Awards? We've introduced him before. Different coaches.
Does he have to be there?
No, I don't know. That used to be a tradition when we were cycling through coaches every year or every other year. That used to be a tradition. You'd get your first chance to lay your eyes on the new Cleveland Browns head coach, but we haven't had this. We haven't had the turnover until now.
216-474-0092. We are efforting to get Jeremy Fowler. And we have Jeremy Fowler. Hell yeah. Let's go to the Make It Right. Call Kyle Wright hotline. Coming in hot at 9:45. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeremy Fowler, ESPN. He joins us on the show. Jeremy, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. First off, will Jim Schwartz bring his box of goodies and come back, or is he done forever here?
You know, I don't think that's completely sorted out yet. It's one of those situations where his options are somewhat limited if they want to hold to his contract. I think it's still in the infancy stages where they're trying to let him cool down. Last I checked, Todd Monken is more settled on getting the offensive and the special teams staff ready and ready to go, and then they can sort of let the front office talk with Jim and figure things out, or at least try to. And I mean, yes, he's upset. Yes, they knew he'd be upset. People told them that he would probably be upset if this is the route they went, So now they're kind of trying to deal with it. But I was told that it's just simply not a guarantee that he comes back, because even though he is under contract, if he's salty enough or just doesn't want to do it, or maybe even threatens retirement, which could be a way out, then they have to do something, because they would risk losing position coaches and potentially losing players. So it's a sticky situation that they're trying to tread carefully, clearly.
Jeremy, do you feel, and you've been in this building and you've met Jimmy Haslam and D and JW over the years, obviously people have been very critical around the league at the way that they went about hiring their coach. There have been a lot of things that have been leaked about the process. Do you feel the Browns have at times been unfairly maligned for this process?
For this particular job, a little bit, yeah. I mean, you heard stories about really long interviews, and I know some of them were long. I mean, like Nate Shieldhouse's session with the Browns, I know on Monday was very lengthy, all day. But look, they wanted to try some different things. They wanted to have like some creative questionnaire writing process, or it just wasn't a typical interview. And I can't knock that. These are important hires. The Browns have a very large staff in the scouting department, information systems. It's kind of like the Eagles. They have a big department on that side of the office, and it's going to have a lot of influence because they feel like they do have a lot of answers. And it's similar to Philadelphia, who just went through an OC search, and that one was lengthy, and that one was had a lot of twists and turns to it before they landed on Sean Mannion, their new OC. So I liken it to that, and clearly they wanted offensive help. And I think that the narrative became that, they're going to go young offense because they have to, because it's not an attractive job. I think for them it was more just, let's get somebody that we know is going to help us fix that side of the ball and can be a leader. And, with Monken, I think the key was he checked a lot of the boxes from a job perspective. And I know this was a thing for him that he felt like he had to sell is, can you see me on the podium in front of, as a face of the franchise, in front of the media, because I am an older coach. I've been kind of all over. I've had different experiences. I'm not necessarily the up-and-coming, polished new name, So clearly the Browns were comfortable with that. But from a communication, experience, expertise standpoint, he checks what you need.
Well, what's really interesting, we're talking to Jeremy Fowler right now, ESPN insider who has been all over this process. You've been a step ahead of virtually everybody. I love what you just said. Did they feel comfortable with having him on the podium? And obviously they were looking at very different coaches, the young Nate Scheelhaase, and then, Jim Schwartz. So listen to this clip. This was on a podcast with Cal Ripken's son, Ryan Ripken, in the Baltimore area, shortly before I think Kevin Stefanski was even let go. Here is Todd Monken talking about not making excuses.
Ooh, the players are frustrated with the play calling. Well, no, my wife is. I don't even understand it. Like they act like it's something that, or this skill player wants the ball more. Well, no, they want to run the ball more. Well, no, okay, you're running it more. We're too conservative. It's play to play, drive to drive. It's, hey, he's in his bag. The next one, he's too trick dicky. It is what it is.
That to me was so interesting because that does not sound anything like the previous coach. Did they just go in the complete opposite direction in the way of communication?
Yes. Monk's great in that regard. You're going to get some sound bites for sure. You're going to get some energy, a little more energy at the podium. Now, I think he'll probably be a little more buttoned up than that. That was being pretty honest with a podcaster in a Baltimore market where they had really had a tumultuous season. There were questions about Todd Monken's chemistry with Lamar Jackson, all those things. I think him, without saying it, Lamar Jackson isn't the easiest guy to have a relationship with as well. So it was kind of a two-way street, but there were some issues there, and he was trying to address them and take some accountability, So I thought that was good. He will say things. He is going to be honest, or as honest as you can be for a head coach, and that can work. Kyle Shanahan comes to mind. He is incredibly honest with the media, and if he's not giving away trade secrets or he's not hurting anybody's feelings, it just works. Now, Kevin Stefanski, to his credit, even though he never said anything, I think his goal was, I'm going to put it on me as the head coach, and I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, because he didn't want anything perceived as him passing the buck or him being overly critical of people in his building that he has to lead every day. So I did understand that, but it was, as a result, boring at times. Todd will say more, for sure.
Jeremy Fowler joining us here on the show. What does Todd Monken mean for Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson?
The passing game, I believe, will be better. I do. Kevin Stefanski's offense, when it was humming, you had that, that wide zone, and you had the Bill Callahan offensive line, and you could just really run the ball well, and you could play action off that. Where Todd's will be a little different. I expect it to look like Baltimore, where he's going to get a good run game system. He's going to have to almost outsource that to an extent, or somebody that he can marry his system to. But, his system is going to try to bring out the best in the passing game. That's his expertise. So he'll need a really good run game coordinator, offensive coordinator to help him with the running game part, and just kind of have the two married together. Because when Todd, my understanding, when he was in Baltimore, he almost inherited kind of what Greg Roman had developed in the running game, and then he brought his own passing game flavor, and they blended it all together. So that's my expectation. I think it will be friendly to quarterbacks. Everywhere he's been, his quarterbacks have been pretty good, with the exception of the 1 year he was in Cleveland as the OC, but that was Freddie Kitchens calling the plays. That was a mess of a situation, and that's totally different, a different story for another day. But, I think it will be a positive. And they have some weapons. Harold Fannin is a guy they can use all over the field. They need more, clearly. Need receiver help. Need offensive line help. And do they sign back Joel Bitonio, who played well but is older? There are a lot of questions on that side of the ball. So his goal is going to be get the best staff he can, and then handle the quarterback situation from there. We've seen Shedeur. Everybody knows what he can do, what he can't do. That's an option. They got to figure out, can Deshaun still play, or do they want him to play, or is it pretty much over? It sounds like, from what Jimmy Haslam said a year ago, admitting the miss that it was to sign him, that he's probably done there. But and look, they have an insurance policy out on him that helps them from a salary cap standpoint, so they might not want him to play. But he's healthy now. It looks like he worked incredibly hard to get himself healthy, and maybe he looks great in camp. I don't know. Like if he does, then you can try to see if you can regain his confidence a little bit for one more year.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Who do you think is going to start week 1 for Todd Monken?
But I'm going to say there's somebody different in there, whether it's like a Malik Willis in free agency, or do you take a swing on like a Ty Simpson from Alabama in the draft, whom some teams really like. And I just I could see a different swing here because I go back to the draft last year where they made those trades and the Travis Hunter trade, and the idea was to load up on a draft that was supposed to be better at quarterback. It doesn't seem to be after the college football season, but look, you do your homework, and maybe there's somebody in the draft you'd love that you can get high. You got 2 first-round picks. You can get a passer in free agency. There just isn't a lot there in free agency, but if you like Malik Willis, and I know the Browns have done their homework on him, then maybe it's an option.
The 2 years Malik Willis was in Green Bay, he had to come in some high-leverage situations. He didn't even throw 100 total passes, but on national television a couple times last year, he absolutely dazzled in games that the Packers 100% needed when Love went down. So how crazy right now is the fervor behind Malik Willis, knowing that it's a guy that was considered a total bust and a reclamation project, and after he got some good coaching in Green Bay, looks like in the opportunities he was given that he looked like he did develop. Like, how many teams are seriously in the market for somebody like that?
Well, every year there are probably 6 to 8 teams that need a quarterback. There are some that come to mind right now, but it's I don't know if all of them would be a fit for Malik Willis, and depends on everybody's unique situation. Indianapolis needs a quarterback, but I think they'll try to get Daniel Jones back. Pittsburgh could try to get Aaron Rodgers back, or maybe give Will Howard a chance. It just depends on the situation. But the Browns are in a position to take that kind of swing. He was coming out of college, very talented, but very green. That's why he fell. He just wasn't ready, and Tennessee was a struggle. But, yeah, Green Bay just got him and developed him. I was there at training camp in Green Bay. He looked great. And, the Miami Dolphins could be a threat there because they have the new Green Bay battery with Jeff Hafley, John Eric Sullivan, the GM. They know him well. But the thing you can do with him, and what we saw this season, is having a quarterback that really can run and still run for first downs but protect himself is crucial now. These defenses have adjusted to these passing numbers that were crazy 5 years ago. Not as crazy now. You got to be able to run the ball better. And so if you can run the ball at the quarterback, it really helps.
Jeremy Fowler joining us on the show. I'm going to get beat up on social media for asking you this question, but I'm going to go ahead and ask. It seemed that Myles Garrett wasn't thrilled on social media. Does that mean anything to them anymore? I mean, he's basically signed forever now because of that contract. Or do you think that they would ever consider trading him this offseason?
Yeah, for me, that's a non-starter based on just previous conversations. Now, maybe something has changed. And it is a year-to-year business, but he just came off the greatest living season we've seen from a defensive end. He's in his prime. He's not aging poorly at all. He's the best player in the NFL, probably. If you were to rank players of any position, I would say he's probably number one. I don't know how you dispute that unless you go quarterback or Josh Allen, The Browns were never going to trade him last year. It was really all part of a charade where they knew, the money would speak. It's a negotiation. Negotiations are hard. So he threatened the trade request and all that. I don't see it. He's under contract, and, he knows what he signed. So I think it's more out of support for Schwartz. And, they wanted a certain outcome, but the defense, what they had going. But the good news is they can still possibly get that, even though Schwartz has said he doesn't want to come back. But, well, you're under contract. I mean, your options are somewhat limited unless you really want to make this difficult and just sort of boycott the season. But then you're forfeiting all your money and you're stunning your progress as a coach and all that.
Jeremy Fowler with us right now. Great perspective on what's really going on with some of these coaching searches and what's happening around the league. We saw Bubba Ventrone got picked up. His special teams in Cleveland were some of the worst by DVOA ranking in the league over the last few years. And yet, once somebody like Sean McVay comes a calling, it immediately elevates, that coach. And I saw a bunch of the league-wide reporters talking about what a coup this was, what a huge hire this was. Is that more of an indictment on just the special teams players that Bubba Ventrone had to work with in Cleveland? Or did these people not really watch the Browns special teams this last year?
Well, he's a respected coach, so, things didn't go well, and it cost him some games here and there. But, he's known as a good leader on that side of the ball. At one point, he was viewed as a potential head coach somewhere and kind of a hot name, and had some interviews. So I don't think it's really an indictment on him. It just sometimes that side of the ball does go sideways, and it's a year-to-year business for guys who are really good get fired the next year, even though they're the same coach, So sometimes decisions are made that don't work out. But we'll see. I mean, maybe he's a guy they can keep or figure something out. But he'll have some options, it looks like.
Jeremy Fowler joining us here on the show. Were they ever close to hiring any of the other two main candidates we talked about?
So, I mean, it was a fair, thorough process that did go down to the end. I do feel like Nate Shieldhouse's interview on Monday went really well. I think he and Andrew Berry hit it off, from what I understand. So I think there was some intrigue there and that it was real. But as of Tuesday, throughout the days that went by, they did some extra Zooms with the candidates. Monken had sort of sealed it. And I did keep hearing, like, the amount of homework they did on Monken was very intense. Calls to people throughout his life and his coaching tree. Like, they really made a gazillion calls to understand who he is and why he is the coach that he is. So it seemed like it was they did more work on him than people realize. I just think these are funny. It happened in Pittsburgh, too. You, as fans and media, and I fall victim to it, you get into the perception game. Like, oh, they're going to keep Schwartz and go young offense. Makes sense. Get a young guy. It's not a great job anyways. Go that route. Where really Monken was coming off a year where Baltimore wasn't as good. But if you look at the body of work, last year, if you would have hired Todd Monken coming off of the best offense in the NFL, MVP season from Lamar, really back-to-back MVP caliber seasons, you would have said, great, that's a great hire, A year from now, he wasn't as sexy of a name because of John Harbaugh getting fired and, just was more of a difficult year in Baltimore, but he's still the same candidate. I think my sense is that ownership was more comfortable with just more of a seasoned coach that they knew as a baseline could improve their offense. And, I assume Andrew felt that way too. I'm saying Andrew ran the search up until Tuesday. I think ownership was, even though they're involved throughout, they really dug in on, like, Shieldhouse, for example. Like, they spent time with Shieldhouse on Tuesday on the Zoom. I think they needed to fact find one last time to see if he could be the guy. But then really my understanding is I think by Tuesday early evening, Monken was the guy identified and that the ball was kind of rolling at that point.
Jeremy, thank you very much for the time. Enjoy the rest of your day, your weekend, and all the best.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
You too. Jeremy Fowler, ESPN on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Right hotline.
It's so interesting how he said Andrew Berry totally hit it off with Nate Shieldhouse. But then there were more Zooms, and then they made all these calls about somebody who was in the building before.
You know what that sounds like to me, don't you? You don't? Okay, yeah, fine. I'll tell you in 5 minutes on The Fan.
XTENDAV.com.
2019, and they're bringing him back to be the head coach. I give him 2 years.
Listen to his reports on the station with the most local sports talk in town. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Coming in hot, coming up at 9:45. Please keep your comments within the boundaries of good taste. Oh, I do want to try to get to some phones here as best I can. We did just have Jeremy Fowler on ESPN. He was excellent. He mentioned the thoroughness of all this, and I told you we had some people texting us. God, if you don't believe that after Wednesday, then you're never going to believe anything. Fine, I don't care. Maybe other hosts who've come before us have ruined it, and so they ain't going to believe us. I don't know. Who cares? But we were getting texts over the beginning of the week. I thought it might be sewed up by Monday. I got to tell you, because one of the parties involved thought it might be sewed up by Monday night. We had a great tweet by Ben who said, was Todd the one they made the 40 calls about? Because Jeremy Fowler was on, I think, last week or the week before saying the 40 calls. And I think it was like, yeah, I think that sounds about right. And you had mentioned right before the break the process. You want to set that back up again, what you just said? Because I said it means something to me, or I said, you know what that sounds like to me, and you didn't know what I was saying. I said, well, I'll tell you when we come back.
Yeah, that Andrew Berry and Nate Schillhouse had totally hit it off, according to Fowler, and they went really lengthy on Monday with that Zoom. What did we think was going down on Monday? As we were getting...
Oh, the people I talked to thought it was just about done.
Yeah, thought it was done, maybe down to the last negotiations. But then they kept digging, and they kept doing more Zooms, and then they kept making more calls, to the point where I sat there, and you could see it on the YouTube live. I looked at Owen, and I go, he was in the building. What more calls did they need to make about Todd Monken? I mean, they had already hired him once before. They'd interviewed him before.
Well, yeah, but...
And now they're interviewing him again.
But
I'm
also,
just like...
Well, yeah, they had him in the building. And by the way, it wasn't a great experience. It was a bad 2019. It felt... I can tell you right now, to ownership and everybody in the building at that time who is still there, it felt like a giant waste of time. Yeah. It felt like you wasted a year of prime football, and you had to get... And there were a lot of people around that area who might have just left who said, I told you so.
Well, I
told you so. Yeah.
They made it very clear from Freddie Kitchen's opening press conference, like they were not involved in that. That was a Dorsey joint.
I thought that was a little... You guys
did
were right.
They just turn off from... Because Andrew Berry wasn't here that year either. He was in Philly. Did ownership just turn off from the football team that year because they knew what was going on, or they speculated what would happen with Freddie Kitchens, and then it happened, and some of maybe the contentious nature that it seemed that Todd Monken had with Freddie Kitchens.
Well, usually guys leave
That's
here.
What came out.
And you're right about that. You're 100% correct. And a lot of the guys leave here, and it's like, I'm never going back to Cleveland. Ever. And I do think that Todd Monken was a guy that during that year, while things were coming off the hinges from week one, that they kind of leaned on going, what is this? How can any of this be fixed? And that's where I think that, that's the birth of too much Monken, not enough Monken, is that Todd clearly did not trust Freddie in his offense whatsoever, thought it was outright boobery, and tried to pull the nose up on the thing. And it just sounds like we're ripping Freddie. Freddie was fun, but he wasn't ready to be a head coach. I don't know if he ever would be ready to be a head coach. So I think they kind of go back to that. And they also know that, hey, he was pretty disgruntled at the time. And now I think in your own head, if you're the Browns, you go, was it just good reason to be disgruntled, or could we have problems here?
Right.
That's why the Jim Schwartz thing matters so much to me. And I know that Nick and some other people are like, yeah, you welcome him in. You welcome him back if he wants to come back. I go, I don't know if you do. Because if he's that mad at things, he knows that this offense still needs players. So if he's that upset about it, there's going to be a question. And nobody knows better about a dysfunctional coordinator in the Cleveland Browns system than a guy who used to be a dysfunctional coordinator with the Cleveland Browns. So it makes it very difficult, and it turns it into every loss. That's going to be on the phones. Every blown fourth down, any blown fourth down, any penalty, anything. It's going to be the back in the people's heads, whether they're sitting in the 537, whether they're passed out in the Muni lot when they get a chance to see the game afterwards. They're going to be thinking that.
all that pointed out, let me get to the answer I wanted to answer. I said, you know what that looks like to me when it seems like Andrew Berry and Nate Shieldhouse really hit it off from what Jeremy Fowler had said. Obviously, Jimmy's the owner. Jimmy makes the decision. Jimmy made the hire. It is something that we'll pay attention to, and I don't have a dollars-to-dollars comparison. Nate Shieldhouse isn't a head coach. I got to wait. So there's really no comparison. I can't do it where it's like Todd Monken versus Sean McVay. Okay, we'll give him some of Sean McVay's players, and maybe that'll be a fair fight. Like, I got to start with a head start if I'm Todd Monken. But it will be where I thought if they were going to hire the guy, and people didn't trust anybody, so it was bound to be a process that people didn't really care for. But if you had Andrew Berry through all of that, 6 years, all of that, we don't need to go over the history. You guys all know it. And you kept him. Wouldn't you trust him to make this hire? Or is the meter running on him? Now, for a lot of fans out there, obviously the meter's running. But you've made a firm decision to keep him. This idea is still going to go down this road. And that does say something to me about the trust issue. And you know what we like to do in this town with this football team is go from, hey, we kind of throw our trust to either side. Guys get bumped up. Very rarely is there just a clean sweep break. That's it. Very, very, very rarely. I think it might have happened once here, and that's when Sashi and Paul DiBiadesta came in. That was it. And that, I got to tell you, can't believe I'm saying this, I'd rather have Paul DiBiadesta and Sashi Brown than Joe Banner any day. Any year.
I'll just forever wonder, and maybe it's something we'd find out way later down the road, but that would only mean things didn't work out. Because if things do work out, you'll never find out. But I will always wonder if Andrew Berry was trying to hire one of the young guys and then was basically overruled in the 11th hour. And if that is the case, what does it mean for Andrew Berry's future here?
I think you'll wonder. I think it regardless of what the decision was, I think that he will be based on the final record and how some of his rookies this year played this coming year in their second season and how those rookies play next year. There is a ton of pressure on him. I think that, and this is a tough thing, I think he's a year-to-year general manager from here on out. And I think that this hire is part of it. 216-474-0092, because I think that, and this is where the 5-year contract stuff doesn't mean anything to me. And we'll talk about Todd Monken's future if things don't go well, but I think they're looking for somebody they trust. So it turns into lily pad to lily pad. Now it's the trust of Todd. Franklin in Atlanta, Georgia. You're next up on the Fan. Yellow.
Man, what's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Franklin, we're doing wonderful. Go right on ahead, friend.
Look, man, Todd Monken was a great selection for y'all. Now, we talked before, and I told you, I said, the only reason I listen to your show, I'm a big Shedeur Sanders fan, but Shedeur has a coach that believes in him, wanted him in Baltimore, couldn't get him because he wanted to go somewhere where he could start. You have to have someone that believes in you. And so I feel like this is going to work good for him. Isaiah Bond is going to go crazy. He's going to be like the next Zay Flowers. I feel like that's our best receiver. And so y'all just have to be patient on the process. As far as the defensive coach, I mean, cool. If he wants to stay, if not, it's up to him because at the last 5 games, people are running on Cleveland anyway. It's not like y'all stopping the run. So I don't know why people are like, oh, we got to keep him. He didn't stop the run. Cool. Myles Garrett needs to get over it. He got paid.
They did a pretty decent job of stopping the run this year. Now they are a gap jumping team, so that means that they're going to be left. You are right. Now they shoot gaps, so that means they're going to be left with sometimes out the back door. But when Malik Collins was healthy, they were able to help stop the run there. They did a better job.
And this is my last point. When you say, well, we know the last. We need a younger coach. When you fly Delta, do you want your pilot to be an old pilot or a young pilot? I want my pilot to be old. Why is that? Experience. So people need to stop complaining and, we could have had the young coach. He's not experienced. Todd Monken can do it. I feel like he's going to bring the best out of
Offensive landings don't change every 3 to 5 years.
Franklin,
offenses and defensives do, and the philosophies do. So that's not exactly the greatest example.
I had to let the 12-year Air Force veteran answer the question.
Thrust is thrust, no matter what age you are.
Come on now. Listen, we want our pilot to be old. We don't want a young pilot. You know I'm telling the truth.
Yeah, until he's too old and doesn't remember where he was going, and you end up just doing circles in the air.
This is thank you, Frank. This is the James Andrews conversation. You remember that? When who went to James Andrews? And we're like, well, how old's James Andrews? Go, well, how old?
He was like 73 or something.
How old is too old for your doctor? I will tell you this: I'm terrified of flying, and I look at all the pilots before they get onto the plane.
How do you evaluate them?
I don't care how old my pilot is. I just want the best pilot for the job.
I got to tell you, I look at a guy. I remember I never felt so better when I had a guy who looked like Jim Tressel getting on that plane. I need some salt and pepper.
Yeah, until you find out he's 39 and he shouldn't be looking like that already.
I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't have known.
And the airline has weathered him over the time.
They've stressed him that much. He's only been a pilot for 2 years.
I wouldn't have known if Denzel Washington was stone cold drunk walking onto that plane. I'm going to tell you right now, I would have been like, that's my guy. Some salt and some pepper. He's got a little bit of a paunch there. We got some experience. I can't smell his breath from the bar on the other side of the terminal. I have no idea because I'm getting drunk myself.
I'm you're upside down looking at a church.
Yeah, I'm drunker than the pilot because I'm terrified to get on that damn thing. So I need some experience. And maybe it's an experienced drunk. I need you. Coming up next, 216-474-0092. Please keep your comments within the boundaries of good taste. Coming in hot, coming up next on The Fan.
Brian Evans here to help you beat. Banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
When you want the latest on the Browns, we're the station you turn to first. 92.3 The Fan is Cleveland's home for breaking sports news. Your teams, your station.
Almost time for Coming In Hot.
Now remember, today's Coming In Hot. You know who's dialed in? None other than Todd Monken. I was told we were on at the facility today.
No, we weren't.
I just lifted up my phone, put it down.
Full of poop. Missed a moment from your show. It says missed a moment in your show.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is
if
this
you
written
host
to
your
me?
own show at your house.
And then you missed it.
Well, I don't need to
I don't
listen
see
to my
what
own
the
show.
problem
I want
is.
them to listen
No,
to the show.
we want you to go listen back. It's called an air check.
What does this mean? To play us out? To end the show? I'll write it and I'll do it live. You missed a moment from the show you like to listen to, no matter what show it is on the Fan? Use the rewind feature on the free Odyssey app, powered by Integrated Restoration, your local experts in water, fire, and storm disaster restoration. Outstanding. Good stuff. Good God almighty.
Joie de vivre.
I didn't get any text about that. I hope he wasn't mad.
They might have come in French. You would have had to decipher.
I think Andy's in the prime of his life. He's still got a joie de vivre. I don't even know what that means, but he's still got it.
What face did Jonathan make when he said that to him? What face? I want to go. I'm serious. I'm gonna go to the last stop in Parma, and go to the bar and just sit next to a guy and go, "What's your joie de vivre?"
Joie de vivre.
Go to bowling night coming up.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the bowling alley. What's your joie? Go to Yorktown Lanes. Hi, how are you? What's your joie de vivre?
Joie de vivre.
Time for Coming In Hot.
Joie de vivre. All right, Cleveland, it's time to get whatever you want off your chest. Cleveland, you're coming in hot. The phone lines are open now.
Joie de vivre.
216-474-0092. Please keep your comments within the boundaries of good taste. Tone, you ready?
Let's go.
Gladiators, ready? Hello, you're coming in hot.
And they're off. It's Little Miss Monken. Bit of an awkward start. There's too much Monken breaking well. Not enough Monken. And they're into the stretch. It's too much Monken. It's not enough Monken. Don't monk with my heart coming up behind. Goodbye horses coming up. Grand Monk Railroad. Monken business. Too much Monken. Not enough Monken. And by hair, it's not enough Monken.
Get to the window quick.
It's very good. It's very good. Hello, you're coming in hot.
Hey, so the old coach with the hoodie and the 25-year-old girlfriend and the brother who had a dental practice in Poland, Ohio, got snubbed from the Hall of Fame. Oh, well, too bad. Bill Walsh is a better coach now and then. Hey, listen. Oh, and the Chiefs are going to take Jeremiah Love if he's available when he slips down to your pick. Have a great day, guys.
What?
I love how the girlfriend gets younger.
What is about
every
the
day.
Poland dental office? What?
She's going to be 18 by the end of the show.
Well,
got new bottles in over there? Let me know.
What is the whole... I don't know. I haven't been to that liquor store. No, he hasn't. Every liquor store he goes to, it gets closed. So I don't know which liquor store he's at now. He's just going to have to get a job at Giant Eagle and work that liquor store.
The Mark curse.
The curse of Mark and the liquor. Hello, you're coming in hot.
Hey, Kenny, this is Coach Mumpkin here. I'm a buffet enthusiast, just like you, but for different reasons, of course. I have a gym membership like you told me to get, and so it gives me something to look at while I'm waiting in line at Wendy's. I'll see you guys down at the Schwitz later. How do you like your steaks?
I like them when I'm shirtless with a bunch of other dudes. Sweaty.
I just want him to. I want him to ask. the loud talker has to ask our wives if we can go there with him. Now, I mean, it used to be a huge secret, and Les would get mad if it was ever
now they have a
referenced on the air.
marketing team.
Now
They're
they
on
have a marketing team.
Instagram.
So I had
It's
to
not
ask.
as cool.
We were offered, Lima and I have been offered each of the last 2 years to go to the Schwitz in this like group, and I was just like, my wife doesn't even know you guys. So it's like I can't tell her I'm gonna take a Saturday away to go sit.
And then what? Do we
eat food naked?
And then we're half naked getting whipped by the big Russian men? That's part of it too?
That's at the
That's
Schwitz?
like an add-on.
Interesting. Hello, you're coming in hot.
I love the Monken hire. He's tough, smart. If you don't like it, you're ageist. And not only are we going to Pittsburgh, Ken Carman.
Okay.
We're going to Cincinnati and Jacksonville, New Orleans and Tampa, New York, Tennessee, and then we're going to go to Baltimore to take back the AFC North. Yeah!
Was that Todd Monken?
The guy who beat you at the Schwitz, does he look like Ivan Koloff?
Oh, yeah. They all look like Ivan Koloff.
Hello, you're coming in hot.
Lake Erie's cold. The season feels long. Same orange helmets, same old song. Jimmy said, trust me, this time's new. Then slid Todd Monken into the room. Monken and his horses couldn't drag me away. Monken and his horses couldn't drag me away from loving this team anyway. I'll wear the gear. I'll stand and cheer while crying. Wait till next year. Have a good weekend.
You too. We could take two more. Hello, you're coming in hot.
Todd Monken being an OC with those controversial political tweets is wild. Remember the last time?
Do it.
That was you.
I do remember that last time.
That was Owen who called that one.
I need those people in that town to be safe, and if when you get fired from your job, they'll be less safe.
It's true.
It's happening.
Saving you from yourself. Hello, you're coming in hot.
Hey, Lima. I'm here to roast you, old ugly-ass boy. Hey. Lima got thrown off a mini horse. That's why he's always on his high horse. Hey, Lima looks just like the Fonz. Where the hell is your office at? The bathroom stall? Hey, Lima, you're so ugly. It look like you be in that bathroom stall rooting in two Nate balls like Johnny Manziel.
Hey,
don't laugh, Kenny. I'm on your ass too, ugly ass boy. As a matter of fact, I ain't even gonna roast you, Ken, because you're gonna mistake it for a pot roast.
Well, that's a new thing on the show now. That's just what we're doing now.
That would be amazing.
That's a separate thing we're going to do now.
Oh, my
roasting.
God. That was good. They actually went after you. Fat jokes are the easiest jokes to make, so usually they go after me. That was awesome.
Glad you old ugly-ass boys got
you old ugly-ass boy. Hello, you're coming in hot. Hello, you're coming in hot. No, someone must have given up after that one. Hello, you're coming in hot.
I just saw Sam Darnold. What? He looked incredible, huh? We can't get Fernando, so thrift store shopping we will go. Our quarterbacks are bad. We got Sanders, Gabriel, and Watson. Can't get Mendoza. Nothing at Luke Rosa. These are Monken's options.
I remember he was why I didn't like the Seahawks.
I never understood the point of Macklemore.
It was rap for your parents. Seriously, it was rap that your parents would like when we were younger.
Yeah.
Like, because we were in our 20s when he was a big thing. I was in my 20s. You might have been just 30.
I only know he was popular because the overnight show when I first started here played it every night. And then you get permission to come aboard.
Oh, I was going to say, on my show, you've been here for a long time. You said overnight. That's right. Hello, you're coming in hot.
Coming to Mr. Hero this spring. It's the Monken Hoagie. Fresh beef topped with grocery relish and fresh Chanel cheese. Not sure whether to pick fries or tots, and you keep double guessing yourself? Try the new Haslam Berry Tots, served with special homemade sauce made by Peggy Gallic. Mr. Hero, prepared fresh for you.
Wait till Ed shows up at your doorstep.
I was going to say, you pay extra, you get double
You
Gallic.
get both. Yeah, I ordered the double.
I haven't seen a good double Gallic in a long time.
Oh, that tells you sweeps must be right around the corner.
Okay,
They're
good.
working. They're in the
Let's go.
lab.
Well, spring will be here eventually, and that's when pothole season starts. We got to do that one. You know how that goes. Hello.
Pot roast to potholes.
Hello, you're coming in hot.
Gee willikers, what's gone wrong with sports? Myles Garrett is being accused of fabricating a tackle in a flag football scrimmage he put on with Shedeur Sanders. Myles said a cloth he was holding was Shedeur's flag, when in actuality it was one of his own bandanas. Gee willikers, what's gone wrong with sports?
Thank you.
The body wasn't great, but the header and the footer, I'll take it.
It was good. Hello, you're coming in hot.
Why don't you take more calls then? What are you afraid of?
Good point.
Yeah. Come on, Carman.
Hello, you're coming in.
Ugly ass boy.
Hello, you're coming in hot.
Hello, Ken and Lima, it's me, Satan. How are you boys today? I will gladly meet you boys at the Schmitz. I'll bring Sam the dog with me, Ken, so you can have a reunion.
My dog is not in hell.
Your dog is my dog. He is in hell. Just like you and Lima will be soon.
That's a good one. See, that's why you gotta have hard and fast rules to it, Tone. Great man once told me it's not a cup of coffee. You can't just order it up.
We have breaking news. Todd Monken and Shedeur have embraced in Berea, and Monken said, "We tried to draft you in Baltimore," according to the caption.
Did he really?
Yep.
Chef here.
Folks, you got your quarterback. You got your coach.
And this one broke at the end of the show. It's what I like to call perfect timing.
I never saw Stefanski embrace Shedeur like that.
Here we go again. And that's all my Friday, Ben. Goodbye.
We tried to draft your blank last year in Baltimore.
And buddies, they're good friends. All right.
Love at first sight. And Dylan Gabriel's in the corner, hiding behind the chair. And Deshaun Watson is in Italy.